Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. Everybody talk. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at the Esports Women's League playoffs, about to be tonight deciding our third place contender. My name is Cthulhu. Tonight, I'm joined by the wonderful Spud. How you doing, my man?
I am doing really well. I'm really excited to be here once again. We have some really great players duking it out for, of course, as we mentioned, the third place prize. There is money on the line for, well, both these teams. So, of course, they're going to be giving it their best so they can win some of it all. But before we get there, we should first take a look at how this whole season has played out and take a look back at our season format. How have these teams made it all the way here to this playoffs? We have, of course, a group stage where each team will face off against each other once, and then the best 4 teams from that will go on to the playoffs, which is where we are right now.
Absolutely, that is correct. Yeah, look, we had quite a big running season as well. So with that out of the way, let's familiarize ourselves one more time with all of our teams as well that have joined us. Some of the older names, some of the newer names that came into the play: Big Brain Esports, Vertex, Volpes, Radical Rebels, Warriors, Triari, Benchwarmers, and Altered Edge as well came into all of this, battled it out through absolute fire and flames for some of these teams, and well, now we have managed to conclude it all into the 4 teams in the top of the leaderboard that did manage to push this into the playoffs. We've already seen the first round of the playoffs evolve, where Warriors got to play against, I believe it was Radical Rebels, and it was a 2-1 BO3 victory for them, albeit Radical Rebels didn't definitely get quite close on the side of Vertex versus BBE or Big Brain Esports. Things went, well, not as strikingly as one would have wanted to see, but let's have a look at our standings as well to get ourselves all proper familiarized. Warriors, flawless season, Spud. I mean, relatively expected given their previous performances, but Vertex, Big Brain Esports, and Radical managed to finally kind of come out of the ashes.
Yeah, they were close behind, and if we actually look at the results and the way they played out, each team only lost to the teams that were above them. So it's pretty much the top 4, and you can see how those wins and losses kind of add up. But of course, we did have a bit of an upset last week when we did see Warriors actually drop a map against Radical Rebels. Radical Rebels managed to take it in overtime 8-7 on Villa, which was, of course, Warriors' map pick as well. So that was a big moment, and I think Radical Rebels are certainly going to be really happy with that and going to be carrying that momentum into this week. Of course, This week it's about that third place playoffs. Whoever wins will get the $500 prize for third place. And yeah, here we have the teams who will be playing off today. We have Warriors and Vertex, which we'll be playing tomorrow. But for tonight, we will have Big Brain Esports versus, of course, Radical Rebels. Prize
now,
pool, of course.
With the prize pool as well. Yeah, we do have quite a fair bit of as well money on the line. Plus, pretty much all the teams that have qualified for the playoffs at least are guaranteed one of the prizes. And well, 4th team will get themselves some R6 credits. 1,200 credits. Namely per player, and then the monetary prize: 500 for the third place, 1,000 for second place, and 1,500 for the first place. So quite a solid chunk of change there for the teams, and rather quite exciting to see what could be done. But yeah, look, why don't we have a look at tonight's match? We already alluded to that with all the standings and the bracket as well. It is going to be BB Esports, or rather Big Brain Esports versus Radical Rebels. Now, Spud, between the 2 rosters, who do you reckon has what it takes to push this to the third place?
Look, if we look at the rosters in particular and the players on them, I think there's a lot of interesting stories that we can see here. I mean, we have, of course, Big Brain Esports. They are, of course, seasoned veterans of this tournament. All of them have a lot of experience, been here for multiple seasons, some of them from the very beginning. So they've seen how this tournament and also the meta has evolved as well. They've also got great, I think, coaching experience and also some great subs as well. Repel, of course, well known for her observing and casting work. Won't be playing tonight, I believe. It will actually be Cheesebender, so unfortunately we won't get to see her play again. But yeah, a lot of experience from them on this roster.
Absolutely. Plenty of experience to be found, to be seen, and to be gained even further. Look, I mean, why don't we familiarize ourselves with the roster number 2, that is the Radical Rebels, the team that has nearly managed to take down Warriors. They were rather close to getting it all the way, as we also just got the confirmation that majority of the players are already in the lobby, so we'll relatively quickly dart through it all. Aussie Ash, Meeps, Mystique, Psycho, and Spartan, a team that, look, at the beginning of it all, had a very rough start to the season and the way how things been going, but closer to the conclusion of the regular season, had a really great run overall. So do we think that this is going to be the roster to absolutely take it to Big Brain Esports?
Well, honestly, despite Radical Rebels on paper having less experience, I think that they're in the running here. My bets would be on Radical Rebels, just based on how well they've been playing. I mean, if we look at the improvement they've shown over the season, very first week, right, they lost 0-7 to Warriors in Oregon. But last week on that decider, of course, where it was 1-1 apiece, 4-7. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but the fact that they managed to, improve on, what was Warriors' stomping grounds, and then also be able to take a map off of them, I think that's a really, really good sign. And just based on the style they've been playing, the aggression, I think it's very, it's going to be the weapon they need against Big Brain, which, to be honest, I feel like they've kind of slowed down a little bit, especially in that last week when we saw them play against Vertex. So that's my thought anyway.
Yeah, look, well, we get one more thing to really mention before we do get into the nitty-gritty things, and that is the map picks and bans, honestly. Well, the BO3 is upon us, and we do get to see at least 2 out of those 3 maps. Now, first up, we do get to see the Clubhouse, the Cafe, the Skyscraper ban, so relatively understandable bans, namely the Skyscraper one, but the Chalet, Theme Park are going to be our first matchups and first maps to be played. And then later down the line, well, should we need a decider, it is going to be Bang. So a rather spicy lineup of the maps, honestly, for us to witness here.
Yeah, there's actually quite some interesting picks here we've seen in terms of how it's all played out. I mean, for one thing, Big Brain is sticking with Theme Park, which they didn't play during their regular season. They picked it last week against Vertex, and they lost at 4-7. So they must have some, a lot of confidence in their ability to win on that map. Radical Rebels, on the other hand, have picked Chalet, which they've played twice during the group season, 1 win and 1 loss. But that loss also was against Big Brain. So that was a 5-7. So although close, it's interesting that they've picked this map that they've lost to them. But the most interesting, I think, is if we look at how the map bans went at the end when choosing the decider, Big Brain had to choose between Villa or Bank. Now, Villa was where, of course, Radical Rebels beat Warriors last week, and Bank was Radical Rebels' pick last time, so their map pick against Warriors. So both of these maps are actually quite favorable for Radical Rebels. So at the end of the day, I think that Radical Rebels might have actually come out on top with this map ban.
All right, well, let's not waste any more time with this and get ourselves underway with the actual matchup, as I believe we're waiting for that to actually happen. But honestly, I'm quite excited because with Chalet, with Theme Park, with Bank, all of these maps, we haven't really seen them for a whole lot of time in a whole lot of places. So great time for us to finally get on top of that kind of action and to no longer see those maps to be really well played out. It's finally all going towards the the good times, the good maps, some of the new and unconventional pieces. So, but hey, yeah, all the more to it.
Exactly. I'm just glad it's not Boragon and Flubhouse. So, You know, I'm already pretty happy, and I'm going to be happier if they give us a good game, which I am sure they will as we head on over to Chalet. Again, a staple. It's still always an interesting map. So many interesting angles, and of course, you know, so many fun setups you can do, especially with all the shields and stuff. So, Chalet, Radical Rebels versus Big Brain Esports. Radical Rebels will be going on the attack first, and Big Brain starting on the defense.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, look, Chalet, one of those maps that does allow you to have quite a plethora of different playstyles. Not actually keen the end result of it all. And honestly, just the promising time, just in general, to be just the Siege enjoyer, to be fair. So, ban phase upon us, Spud. Do we reckon standardized kind of ban phase or something out of a blue?
Thatcher ban is probably pretty normal. As much as we talk about deviating from the norm, the bans, I don't think they're going to go too much out on a limb. This is where you want to be playing the comfort picks, where you want to know and trust what you do. The Thatcher, of course. Finker, though, I like that. I have been advocating for Finker bans in ranked for so long. My friends don't believe me, but finally someone is on the same page. Thank you.
I mean, Finker bans has been seeing on and off presence within some of the other leagues as well, including even the Southeast Asia, where it's just if a team is a little bit too frequent with those Finker picks, or if they use her as more so like a crutch, that becomes basically like a target ban that pretty much helps and completely demolishes all sorts of setups for the attack. So yeah, absolutely, Finker ban definitely does make a whole lot of sense, and given that we've seen quite a number of Finker picks within Women's League as well, it does certainly work out, albeit more so is just a question of how well will it play into the hands of both of the teams, and whether it would be a shot in the foot or not by the team banning it. So I suppose we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, RDC to kick things off on the defense. On the offense. I'm actually quite excited to see how will they perform, given the lineup that they are introducing. Gridlock feels rather peculiar in this general swing of things, given that Nomad is on the board, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed as well. I saw, wait, why are you bringing Gridlock when you have the Nomad for those runouts? Especially, I'm thinking if you're going for that double window repel, you need one on that trench door. So, interesting. Having said that, Gridlock does bring a lot of utility. 4 of those Gridlock track swingers, a great gun, depending on, even if you're using the F90.
Them, yeah.
I know everyone likes to harp on about the LMG, but the F90 is a great weapon as well, and the shotgun smokes all of that. And speaking of utility, there's actually a lot that Radical Rebels are bringing, and I really think it's going to be able to chew through some of the setup from Big Brain.
5 seconds to go.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I'm very keen to see what will be the kind of the end result of it all, because generally speaking, RDC could have a really easy time with the way how they could, you know, sort out their pushes, their plays. The Retero drone on the floors of Mystique could be big. Mystique actually one of the players that did go rather big before Meeps as well, and her being the opener pick onto Bernabear, one of the big fraggers of BB as well. That's great. That's actually quite pogging.
Yeah, you know, I've mentioned this before last time when we watched Big Brain play, and that is the lack or the inability sometimes for them to get those trades. They tend to have roamers that play by themselves and aren't really in a position to be supported, and I think we've started to see that play out again. Granted, it's only the first round, maybe things will be different from here on out, but I seriously hope that they have learned from their loss last week and at least stick a little bit closer together.
Absolutely. Well, already quite a fair bit of that Flores utility being dedicated to try to clear out maybe even the mute jammers, maybe even some of the other positions, but as it stands, well, already the ace charges are also starting to get to work. Frag grenade to clear out the mute jammer as well, so that should be basically now free real estate to go in for the push, but no actual presence or actual control over the piano yet, so RDC might have some issues later down the line. And as it stands already, well, shots being exchanged, but no actual tangible advancement.
Yeah, they've got control of that library and mezzanine area, and they've blocked off any rotate coming up the library stairs, but there's no real other sort of pressure here, and Big Brain still have some fairly good positions. The Smoke was still able to deny that default plant, and I think those mid jammers are proving a little bit difficult for Radical Rebels to get the intel they need.
Yeah, as it stands already, Repel actually taking quite a fair bit of damage. Forced to fall back a little bit. Psycho taken out, but it's a trade-off. Aussie Ash getting to work with that LMG. Mystique unable to connect her shot onto Repel. One shot is really needed to get it down. Spartan down as well. It's all starting to fall apart slowly but surely. No control over Mezzanine means a whole lot of problems. Fish Noodle as well on the flank as well. No, actually can't land the shots. Pistol out actually gets the better of Aussie Ash, and all of a sudden it's all down to Meeps to try to make any sort of work, but it's a shotgun to the face from Chloe to wrap up round number 1 as we get that... Well, we'll start things off a heater.
Yeah, of course, we mentioned it started off really well for Radical Rebels. They got that early pick in, so they had the player advantage from the beginning, but they weren't quite able to get onto site. And that was because of a lot of the denial that Big Brain had set up. There was the smoke and also the the Melusi devices, which gave intel and slowed down the push. And so ultimately, it really forced Radical... I'm not sure how to put it, but Radical Rebels, they weren't able to get a strong foothold into the site. The smoke kept them out and ultimately downed them. And of course, Repel playing from that bedroom, firing across into the office, stopped any entry from the office door. So ultimately, a good start from Radical Rebels, but Big Brain will take out that first round.
Huge opener really here for Big Brain Esports. They've managed to show us some pretty big and pretty good openers before. So it's a good thing to see them get to work here and find themselves some really nice, solid, clean openers with really no actual kind of punishment in any shape or form that could have been instilled on them, but it's only the first round, so could possibly be those the ye old first round jitters from the team of Radical Rebels, given that they did take quite a while to get themselves all warmed up before we actually got to see them get to work. So certainly possibilities are there for maybe later down the line some sort of a performance boost from themselves. The only change that we do see, though, Aussie Ash to bring in the Lion and Spartan actually bring in the Thermite as well. So we are looking at a, again, very kind of coordination heavy, very utility heavy lineup that is being brought out. Question being is whether we are going to be seeing it actually, well, work and come to fruition, or whether Big Brain Esports will just be able to just kind of tough it out.
Interesting choice here that they've chosen to go directly for Library rather than trying to get a foothold via the northern side. See here, we've got the double window Repel already, and yeah, honestly, that usually is quite difficult getting into those Library windows, especially when you have that Frost in play. Fishino, of course, finds the first pick. Meeps will be the one to go down now, and Repel looking for a second one here, not quite able to line the shot. But there, we already see one play in Library, but the other is kind of stuck outside, and it's a bit difficult, again, with those prospects in play, to find entry there.
Exactly that. Yeah, look, entry currently being a little bit of a difficult tall order. Repel already getting the better of Mystique. Aussie Ash down. Not really particularly looking too healthy at the moment. And Radical Rebels caught flustered on their own attacks, and well, yeah, Psycho was able to get the better off, or rather take control at least partially off the piano room, but nothing apart from that really come of it. So look, it's Problems Town certainly here in play for Radical Rebels, as they are still struggling to find any sort of solution really.
Yeah, 1 minute remaining. That Library shield still firmly in place. They're only just opening up the Library wall now. Sorry, off this wall now. It's usually one of the first things you do. So Chloe is going to have a really good position here and already holding the angle with that support from the shield. It's going to be nasty for Radical Rebels to try and push up here.
Nasty indeed. It will be rather problematic too. Possibly looking at yet another quite a banger of a push, but could we see that perform to actually happen? Psycho has quite a tall order on her. 1v5 with 20 seconds to go. Basically, pretty much a done deal. And well, with LMGE what can you do? Well, farm up a couple of points. It seems. Well, finds one, but already there's the flank around. Big Brain Esports living up to their name, able to be basically everywhere and nowhere at the same time, which feels like a quite a difficult task to really try to counter them even in that kind of scenario, given that, well, you try to push around and, well, the moment you think that you have a solid ground under your feet, that being yoinked away straight away as well.
Yeah, this time it was actually a little bit different compared to how that first round played out. The first round, Radical Rebels got a good foothold early on, but couldn't get onto the site. This time it was the other way around. They weren't even able to really get into the building or take much map control to kind of push off and launch that attack. And yeah, I don't know if it's a failure on their part to go through the northern side of the map and at least get some territory to work with, or the fact that those crosses being held from the mezzanine and the library were really, really good. But they certainly weren't able to make much progress into the building, and so they didn't get anywhere near site. And yeah, certainly a very strong site for Big Brain there.
So, I mean, you already have quite an impressive scoreline already starting to form up. Repel's currently still being deathless 4-0. Fish Noodle on 4-0 as well. So far, the big performance for Big Brain Esports. Chloe and Bernabear and Yoshi trying to pitch in on the whole dilemma as well, but stands yet to tap into their potential too. But I would understand as well that they have been plentifully dedicating to the whole cause with the utility as well. So nothing to shy away from here, I reckon. But on the side of RDC, look, yeah, definitely a little bit of a confusing kind of turnout amidst all of this kind of quote-unquote chaos that has been happening to them, given that opportunities were plentiful and, look, the positions were taken as just... And I think it's just more so just the drones. Once again, we've been kind of highlighting this previously, that the drone game has been a little bit lackluster from the side of Radical Rebels. So maybe we could be seeing something big to happen.
One thing I do note though is, oh no, Chloe, I think that's a run out. No, it will be from beneath. Yep, through that hatch. That's a classic spot. And takes out Spartan. That's your single hard breacher down, though I'm not sure you really need too much of it on this particular site, though certainly helpful for some of these walls on the northern side of the map. But yeah, as I was saying, I noticed that Chloe, Repel, and Fishinil played on the same team last season, and so Forsaken Boba, and Chalet was one of their really, really strong maps. So it makes sense that they're suddenly doing really, really well here, because they've played it, they know it, and although it's a different iteration of the roster, the core ideas are certainly still there.
Absolutely. Well, that certainly does seem to be propelling them rather far, including that, well, Bernabear already finding her own frag, the player who has been within the competitive scene for quite a while, and has seen quite a fair bit of action as well. Psycho does get the better of Repel. All of a sudden, the push as well is there. Psycho gets another one. That's Fish Noodle gone. The two big performers now all of a sudden dwindle down, and it's down to the last three remaining members of BB, as Chloe actually gets a nice solid run out, now leaving Psycho and Aussie Ash a little bit disconnected from each other.
Bomb located by attackers.
Yeah, some good momentum there from Psycho, but unfortunately, it's all about the time. There's a minute left. Unfortunately, Yoshi almost walks straight into Psycho. Does manage to get away for now, but not for long. Taken down now, 2 versus 2, but Chloe finds yet another pick. 3 kills. 4, though, for Psycho.
Ace.
1v1.
Could be big as well, also being tagged up to all hell. Knows approximate location of the castle. Bernabear has the full HP, so could take the gunfight prone position. No, the headshot lands, it's an ace for Psycho. Really nicely done as RDC finally do get themselves on the board.
Well, a bit of a slow attack there. Certainly started off not that quickly. I was noting down that at a minute left, they were still pretty much all outside the building, but Psycho makes it happen. 5 kills, an ace to clutch up that round. Definitely a well-deserved round, and a much-needed round too for Radical Rebels to break some of this momentum that Big Brain have been picking up. Having said that, though, that does allow Big Brain to go back onto the second floor, which they, of course, won quite handily, and that's going to be a difficult task once again for Radical Rebels to win.
Could be quite a difficult difficult time and difficult performance to really put up, so wait. Keen to see if, well, RDC will be able to keep up this kind of pace, this kind of momentum to keep on happening, because, yeah, look, there's still plenty of time and plenty of space to really pull off any sort of big showcases and, you know, big scorelines, but it's all about the momentum. Big Brain were able to achieve their own momentum rather well, rather sparingly, so question being is whether they will be able to do it themselves and, well, keep it up. Because, look, there's a number of things that could start to keep on compounding, and it wouldn't be particularly a pretty sight if issues will start on stacking on here for that roster. Now, Radical Rebels took their moment and took their time before we actually got to see the full-blown progression from either one of these performers. And, well, with Psycho's ace, this certainly does give us a brief kind of moment of rest, I guess you could call it, but the lineup for RDC completely changed now, with them needing that extra bit of utility to just assist in their own gunfights, it seems.
Yeah, one thing you don't want to do is rely too much on single players carrying the team, and so although you might get away with it once or twice, you can't expect Psycho to ace every single time. I do like the addition of this Ying. Makes those gunfights a little bit easier to win, especially when the players are holding such powerful positions. But speaking of power positions, still, Big Brain are holding on to all of them, and Radical Rebels seem a little bit stuck once again outside the building. Not quite sure how to make their way in once again.
Yeah, look, definitely been a bit of a struggle town for RDC players, and yeah, look, not having a whole lot of information / drone game around that mezzanine stairs setup and the mezzanine balcony definitely does seem to end up posing quite a threat to the team. And already with the gunfights evolving once again, Mystique and Psycho do manage to make their entry rather promptly, finding themselves a nice set of frags. Another one goes down, another one bites the dust. It's Chloe actually instead that does get the better of Psycho. Fishnell falls as 3v1, but a minute remaining, still so much ample time to really play around with. And do we get to see Chloe able to clutch it out? That's one, that's a double. Can she find another one though? That is the big question. Two more, still plenty of time to really play it out. A bit of a lull. But with her position, her utility, her setup, this is all very much possible here. Does she find that shot, though? That is the big question for us. But no, unfortunately, she does not. Aussie Ash is the one to wrap it all up as Radical Rebels back into the swing of things, it seems.
Yeah, again, slow start, but they do make it work at the end. A very explosive execute where they just flood onto site, and they're winning those gunfights off the back of some great aim, honestly, some great plays, and of course Ying giving that extra backup as well. So although Big Brain seem to have the better positioning, Radical Rebels are able to just brute force things when they need to. On the side of Big Brain, perhaps it's time to, you know, rethink maybe how they're stalling out the time, because I do know that they're managing to stall out a lot of it. Perhaps they need to fall back a little bit earlier and save their lives for those that final execute once they've wasted enough of Radical Rebels' time.
Yeah, that's a really good point there. Look, they Big Brain team seem to be able to have a really good idea, kind of, with the way how they've been setting themselves up. It's a little bit of a kind of an expanded play, but maybe just a little bit too expanded of a play there as well. So I suppose we'll have to wait and see what is going to be the actual end kind of result of it all, because I'm genuinely so far been impressed with how both these teams been kind of, I suppose, trading blows. So it's a good kind of time, good way, I suppose, to showcase it all as well. So now going into the next matchup, already some adjustments have been made. Very cautious approach to that kind of jacuzzi balcony, it seems.
Of course, as we did, as people are oft to mention, Chalet usually is an attacker-sided map, so on the side of Radical Rebels, having to catch up isn't the best thing, but Big Brain already 2 rounds ahead does give them a little bit of breathing room in terms of the fact that, you know, it's not exactly their favored side. However, that's, again, not going to help. Aussie Ash finds that first pick, and it's going to make those explosive entries later on so much more devastating when Big Brain can't find the players they need to get the trades and win the fights.
Absolutely. Well, already one of the players does fall on both ends of the match, with Spartan out, Meeps out and out as well, courtesy of Chloe. This is not particularly the best kind of scenario as well as that, plus you drop your diffuser as well. The down onto Psycho, that is unfortunate, and one of the reasons why Frost on Chalet is just so potent, just with the sheer abundance of those windows and those entry points to be booby-trapped, it is just hell, really, for a number of players. Oddly enough, nobody's actually going to even bother to try to pick up Psycho, so she's going to be left there just to bleed out. And the best part is, for Big Brain Esports, they have the control over the diffuser as well.
Yeah, that vertical is a really strong position to play, and definitely is the game changer here. Repel does find one onto Mystique, and with one player left down, suddenly Diffuser down, although not quite in the position they thought. Yeah, Diffuser down, and all up to Aussie Ash now. Will she actually? She won't make the run. She's leaving Psycho out to dry.
Yeah,
wow.
Too late. Too late. Yeah, game over there for Psycho. No more of those. No more of the funny ha-has already spotted out on that rotation, and the swings are about to come out. Well, another one happens. The Repel is the one to take the life of Aussie Ash after what feels like one of the more quicker-paced rounds as it is. And yeah, look, Repel kind of showing the prowess. What can't she do? She's an observer. She's now a caster as well. She's now a player as well too, and has been for quite a long while within the Women's League. Borderline a veteran nowadays as well. So far, Big Brain Esports flexing their own performance. If they can make it, I reckon, 4-2 scoreline, they could be in to win map number 1. What do you reckon, Spud?
Yeah, 4-2 is definitely what you'd want on this defending side, and once you pick up that momentum on the attack, things can really change. For Radical Rebels, though, 3-3 isn't really that bad. It's kind of an even ground here, but certainly you've got your work cut out for you once you go onto the defense. But again, I don't think either of these teams are playing particularly terribly. In fact, they're both playing quite well in different ways, mind you. I think Big Brain have really good setups, and Radical Rebels have really good mechanical skill and great at taking those gunfights. So it's interesting to see how those interplay, and how sometimes Radical Rebels can just brute force over Big Brain setups no matter what they try, where sometimes Big Brain just outsmart their opponents. And very interesting to see how this will play out, especially once we get onto the more, I think, technical heavy maps like Theme Park.
Yeah, Theme Park will definitely be a rather interesting one, albeit I still reckon it would probably favor Big Brain Esports with the way how they've been so far, at least executing it on the defense. But yeah, look, another round, another attempt by RDC to try to just force themselves into the buildings, force the issue into their own hands, and well, possibilities certainly are going to be rather plentiful on the side of the attack, given that they have now introducing a Zero, pretty sure the operator that has been a relatively frequent of a pick for Mystique previously, so good to see the third echelon representative being back into the swing of things, back into the competitive play. But very much, again, stall out is kind of the name of the game so far for Radical Rebels.
Yeah, once again, Big Brain going for the solar entry. We saw it the second time they attempted to attack this site, and it worked out very well for them. Although, as we mentioned earlier, a little bit slower. And that seems to be the name of the game again. Once again, Fish Noodle, 2 players, in fact, will be downstairs. So same setup from Big Brain and the same opposition from Radical Rebels. Just a matter of time before they actually choose to go for that entry, but Spartan will find Fish Noodle creeping up from those stairs. Usually not the player you send up there, the ace, but with that opening, hopefully Radical Rebels will be able to take this bottom floor area.
I mean, we've seen a number of ace players to kind of go into that pseudo entry fragging role. I mean, the AK-12 is a phenomenal weapon to really play around and to utilize, so understandably so, they want to, you know, flex that sort of ability to play around that sort of weapon, so fair enough, fair dinkum. And, well, another gunfight does happen out. It's Psycho to actually get the better of Yoshi. This time, a nice, clean cut and, well, clean frag. Another one into the hands of Psycho. Yet again, Repel is out of the equation. Chloe and Burnaby are now being tagged up to all hell. Burnaby has not really had a really good game so far, and it's been a bit of a struggle fest for her to try to find that sort of performance, I suppose. And, well, they are able to drain a little bit of time, but as it stands, already too much ground has been taken by Radical Rebels, I reckon.
Yeah, 30 seconds, Chloe is going to be out of those smoke grenades now. That's the last one, and Spartan, Mystique, Meeps have already found their way past it. I don't know if Burner Bear is aware. There is pings, so they are aware at least somewhat, but Spartan
Burner
on the flank now doesn't quite see. She will find it, and a flawless round now to finish things off. Radical Rebels 3-3.
3-3, nice job. Nicely done. As they managed to equalize the round count and the points count, which does make things nice and even. We back to basically just an even ground here between the two rosters, showing just how close this matchup could really get. Now on the attack, Big Brain Esports, this is their time to shine now, as Radical Rebels do go into what technically one could title as a bit more of a favorable kind of side, especially on Chalet. A number of maps, a number of setups that could be very much favorable for both of the rosters. Do you reckon this is where Big Brain Esports could ramp up their own momentum and find their time, or is this now Radical Rebels galore pretty much all around and all across the board?
Usually when you pick a map, you know how to attack it, right? Because you almost know for certain you're going to be attacking first. Radical Rebels have shown that they're pretty good at Chalet. They know how to attack, and especially those Master Office takes coming up from West Main, they were executed flawlessly. The drone work was excellent. I know we've criticized them previously on it, but in those last two rounds, it was very, very good. Now, the Big Brain, of course, is their time to show that they still know how to play this map. Despite those roster changes and all that, Chalet is still certainly one of their maps, and so much so that I almost thought it was Big Brain's map pick. And I started my point, and then I realized I didn't know what I was talking about anymore.
Well, it seems like Yoshi wasn't too sure about what was happening with her there as well, as she got absolutely fragged out. Burnaby as well, done and dusted. Big Brain Esports taken on by force, it seems, at the moment, as, yeah, look, so far deconstructed here in every shape and form. But I say that, at least some sort of a return on investment cycle, already on double digits, 10 to 5 as well. And Meeps also going down 3 versus 3 with 2 minutes to go. That is quite a quick kind of evolution of the match as it started to, you know, progress further and further. So, I mean, good way to keep up the pressure, I suppose, in one shape or the other. Do we reckon Big Brain Esports still have it all to completely just shut down their opponents, or whether this will be yet another upset by RDC?
I'm still not entirely sure how to call it at the moment. It is fairly even, and while Radical Rebels does have Psycho, Big Brain does have Fish Noodle as well, and she just snapped just like that. 2 picks as well. Much needed picks as well, I might mention. So still could go either way, but once again, time is ticking down, and we've seen this as a theme among Big Brain's attacks. They tend to be fairly slow and take their time, and I worry that they haven't left enough time. Although 1 minute reach open, still not that bad.
Yeah, not that bad at all. Mystique, though, nailing Chloe. This is not particularly the kind of setup that you would want to find yourself in, especially on the side of RDC. Or rather, pardon me, BB. And with the Repel starting to go for a plant, as long as, well, the plant did go down. No, it does not even get remotely close to it. I didn't even get to finish my own point. It all falls apart. Big Brain Esports can't seem to be able to get a firm grasp on their opponents as of yet. But look, yeah, it's been just kind of a very, very difficult, very tumultuous run it seems so far.
Yeah, those 2 early picks certainly did not help Big Brain at all. I think the drone work perhaps a bit lacking there, just not prepared for such aggression so early on, and that certainly cost them later on in the round. Again, both teams, when they're going through that mezzanine library take, they struggle to get a hold onto site, although they can get the first foothold in the building. So I want to see whether this changes, whether we'll see Radical Rebels and Big Brain face the same problems once they go onto this attack here on Gaming's, where, of course, Radical Rebels weren't able to pretty much get in the building. So I wonder if Big Brain will face the same problem and they won't make it in either.
Yeah, that could be a big talking point. Big Brain Esports so far has been having a bit of a struggle town with just finding their consistency, it seems. Or something that possibly could be addressed later down the line. For the time being, though, I mean, look, the way how BB were at least setting themselves up, at least they're able to quite consistently get towards, well, the actual site per se, and able to start getting the plan down. So that initial pressure seems to be differing quite nicely between themselves and Radical Rebels attack, albeit that didn't really come with, well, without any sort of minuses with their performance. Just the sheer abundance of losses in the numbers in the player count has been a rather noticeable issue.
I think consistency, as you mentioned, is going to be the key here, and we did see Big Brain struggle a little bit. Sometimes they have really, really great rounds, but sometimes the attack just picks their defenses apart. So I'd like to see them at least change that up a little bit, and so far they've got to the drones at least, right? No more, wasted early picks. Yoshi is still alive. That's good. Burner Bear still alive as well, and they're working that vertical. That's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. A good start, a great timing so far. I mean, I gotta give it to Big Brain Esports as well. They have been quite prompt on their entry, on their play. It's a good, good form that they have been showing. That definitely shows that they have been, putting in the practice, putting in the time to actually, learn up, study up on how to get those pushes actually working. And the possibility that once they nail their own even mechanical gunfights, this is where we could see them flourish.
Zaka goes for the swing, doesn't quite find the heads of those players. Flashbang, however, and utility dumped, shield destroyed. That's well worth it. You need to get rid of that library shield if you want to have any hope of pushing that area, but Radical Rebels still have all their players alive, and with a minute left for those final executes and gunfights, this could go either way.
Indeed, it will be already. Some problems might start compounding later down the line. A little bit of a tagging damage has been already accumulated, but could we see some sort of a return to form already? The absolute flurry of kills once again happens. Aussie Ash does go down on the side of BB. It's Fish Noodle again. The Sledge, the operator that you probably don't really want to lose out, but given the heavy utility lineup that we are seeing here from both of the teams, and namely, well, even from the attack, shouldn't be too much of a problem, I reckon.
Big Brain, they're looking a little bit lost, realizing they've only got 20 seconds, 10 seconds now. They actually have to just run down the stairs and just brute force it, but Meese will be there to catch one. Two's from Spartan as well. It's a 4v2. Not much they can do now. Yoshi going for the defuse, but it won't be enough. All players down, and that's another round. Radical Rebels.
Damn. Radical Rebels, look, performing to the highest possible standard for themselves. It's so far been looking a really pretty job from them. Certainly a very formidable effort on top of it all. So great to see that so far it's been a good result. Look, they had a bit of a stumble at the beginning in the first half, and it seems like attacking side has been kind of their I suppose bread and butter in this sort of performance, in this venture tonight as well. The battle for that third place has been a rather interesting kind of storyline just period. Really, the fact that this is by far one of the first few seasons where we get to see teams that are very much able to take it to the teams that are contesting for that number 1, number 2 positions. That has been a phenomenal kind of turnout.
I think in that previous round, we kind of saw where Big Brain struggles, and it exemplified the problems they've been facing with their attacks, and that is, it slows down quite a lot. I mean, if you think about the time that they used, at the 2-minute mark, they were at the office, and they'd open that wall, and then it was that middle minute, which was kind of the lost time there. They got rid of the shield, but they weren't able to take much significant control or do any vertical and apply any pressure. And then by the end, they were forced to kind of just run through the site without being able to drone, without being able to get any intel, and they just ran into the crossfires that Radical Rebels were holding. And this is the same thing we saw them face when they played against Vertex, and it seems that it's really crippling their ability to win those rounds, because despite having good setups, they're not able to get the execute down.
Yeah, the execute has been certainly a little bit of almost a coin flip, really, from the way how Big Brain Esports were playing. So maybe later down the line we could see them
Bomb has been located.
get back into their own swing of things, but maybe it will be the map 2 theme park could really be the one to really change things around. Already, RDC having a slight problem dealing with that Twitch drone, given that already all that breach denial has been completely negated, courtesy of Chloe, and as well as that, Psycho is no longer on the board. Even as well that the unfortunate disconnect there as well. No rehosts, funnily enough, that has been called. Does result in RDC kind of from the get-go having to play in that 4v5, which doesn't really bode usually too well.
Yeah, a little bit of intel from those alibi gadgets Spartan on the pulse will certainly help out a lot, but it will also mean the C4s can go up as well, even if the sledge attempts to shoot down. A minute left, the Bane wall is open, and that's about the timing we've been seeing, and although it's not bad again, Big Brain historically do struggle on this part of the execute. Still, players holding some good positions, but Fishneedle goes for the grenade. It's a well-placed nade, will probably catch Spartan. Only does some damage, so she will get away, but is taken down. That's enough players and trades there. Aussie Ash, one of the last players alive, but Repel already going for the defuse now, and with the aggressive swing, it's a 2v5, 1 down as well. All up to Mystique, can't quite find it. Chloe on the flank. That is a round for Big Brain.
Yeah, good closure so far. It's been for Big Brain Esports. They finally kind of managed to find their strides, find their kind of ways around the problem. Let's just call it that, I suppose. And yeah, look, so far, I mean, so good. They're not out of this yet. They haven't yet allowed Radical Rebels to push to that match point, and I suppose that's what counts the most so far. As long as that match point is not yet in their opponent's hands, this is where Big Brain Esports are kind of sitting pretty, and well, they still able to finally keep on accumulating the points. But yeah, you did make quite a good point that their initial momentum was all good, but then for one reason or the other, they stall out, they slow down, and unable to find kind of any further progression, which generally speaking does result in a bit of a linchpin. So look, I mean, a point is great for Big Brain here, but being able to score it only off the back of that, you kind of from the get-go during the attacking phase, you already playing against the 4v5. Not yet sure about how credible, quote-unquote, that sort of progress is, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see, maybe by the conclusion of this round, to see what would the actual kind of result of it all could be, because I reckon this is where we could start seeing all the the sauciness come around, and well, the sauce certainly does get delivered as Meeps does get the better of Yoshi.
This is the second time Yoshi has been spawn peaked, and I'm pretty sure this is Meeps' second one as well. So that you'd hope that Big Brain would learn from this, but it seems they have not. And with another player down, that's certainly not going to help. And I think one of the understated impacts this has is confidence, right? One of the most important things when it comes to playing entry is confidence. And if you're always losing, you're always, starting off a player down and you're losing the spawn peaks, that doesn't do well for confidence. And so that could be the thing that's lacking on these executes. They just don't have the confidence to actually go for that push. And that could be what is coming back to haunt them.
Certainly looks that way. Already, Meeps claiming yet another frag, another bit of damage to the general player numbers economy, which wouldn't really bode too particularly well here. So we are looking to see how any further we will be able to progress with any sort of push for BBE. The round that they were able to claim was all great and all, but can they keep up the consistency is a whole different, well, kind of worms here between the two rosters as Psycho. Oh, absolutely crisp, clean look there. Completely annihilates yet another BBE member.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out where Big Brain are pushing from, because they're kind of dying all over the place. And from what I've gathered, it is pretty much a library push, and Chloe will be pushing from the fireplace downstairs, but there really isn't much apart from that. They seem to be kind of pushing solo, although we do see some drone work. There's no one there to get those trades. Again, common mistake that we've seen Big Brain make, and Radical Rebels are certainly capitalizing on that.
Absolutely, yeah. Finding those frags has been so far pretty good. Kind of taking that fight to their opponents so far has been kind of the name of the game for RDC, and it's been working out, I mean, perfectly. You look at the general kind of spread of the frags, apart from Psycho, who has been going absolutely ballistic. It has been a relatively even spread of things. Chloe trying to take the gunfight with the pistol. Psycho on that flank should have the shots. No, actually tagged up again to just absolutely all hell. And the finisher with the pistol does come around. Chloe manages to keep it a little bit even closer now with the crossfire, but Spartan just a little bit built differently. T4 out, and oh, that's the closure that we wanted to see. Radical Rebels doing it off with a bang, really. Scoring themselves a nice, solid, clean match point, and something that they have been working towards for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm a little bit puzzled there from Big Brain, because typically we see the opening of their rounds be very solid, but this time it was very, lost. And I think some of the early losses that they faced, especially at the hands of Meeps, losing Fish Noodle and Yoshi early on, certainly tempered their ability to mount those attacks and slowed them down more than, they'd care to admit. Again, it came back down to that confidence thing. While, sure, they were making fairly good time, the fact that they weren't sure whether they were going to A, run into someone, so they had to drone them out, and B, after that, win the gunfights, that certainly would have played a part in the mental game. And I think, yeah, Radical Rebels so far are winning in terms of that, because they've certainly, being 2 points up certainly helps, and just the way they've been playing, I think, a little bit better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It has been a phenomenal showcase, really, from RDC. I mean, the roster that has been taking their time to, find their stride, find their kind of almost identity for quite a prolonged time. Finally, it's all kind of coming to work, coming to fruition, and it's a great time, great showcase as well of power, of their flexibility, of their ability to frag out like absolute crazy. And look, it's been a pleasure so far watching that sort of performance, and the way how they've been able to nail their namely mechanical skill has been just very noteworthy performance.
Yoshi this time will manage to stay alive, which is good. Fish Noodle also will remain standing so far, so no early losses is certainly a good start. Bar Gaming will be the site for this match point, and last time I believe we went to Bar Gaming, yeah, it was a defense win from Radical Rebels, and it was where Big Brain again struggled to get onto site from those crossfires at the end. Psycho will find Burner Bear. Once again, solo push doesn't quite work out. Player down.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a good kind of general idea, the way how BBE were looking to do it, and with that whole push kind of having that flank, but you need to start initially applying the pressure with the numbers before you can even make any sort of tangible progress, it seems. And well, in the case of Big Brain Esports, unfortunately, Bernabear's plan as a Nook player does not really work out at all. Now, Rappel, Yoshi, and Chloe, the three performers, are still there. Well, minus Yoshi. Unfortunately, she had a bit of a quieter game, as unfortunate as it is, but still plenty, ample time, ample positions, and ability to find those frags. Chloe getting the better of Psycho out of all the players. That's definitely a good position to place themselves in. Now, Spot, do we reckon this is the breaking point? Is this where we see the 5th point for Big Brain?
Yeah, they've fallen off that shield position, and they've still got a minute to work with, which is plenty of time. No C4 to throw back up, although Mystique does have a lot of denial. But if it all comes down to the next 20 or 30 so seconds, if Big Brain can apply that pressure there from above, then I certainly think they can win it. If they just sit around and do nothing, yeah, that will certainly help.
Yeah, a bit of a death box setups there from BB, as now it's all down to Spartan and Meeps. Not too sure where Meeps is sitting around as well. Yeah, that's her position has basically became almost negligible, albeit I say that Meeps starts her own crusade and just momentarily should have the angle. Does she know about the presence around the bar, about all those setups? Does pop off a shot, so that may be her position now revealed. About to make an entry back into the side. 2v2. Now Spartan makes it a little bit more workable. Chloe needs to go down. She is down now. All of a sudden, it's all down to Yoshi to try to make a play, and she's outside the site. Won't be able to get a pickup, so this is going to be a play for time, but does Meeps know that the down was there?
Yeah, 9 seconds, 8 seconds. Now Yoshi does find one, has to stick the plant. Nothing you can do about it now. Will decide to at least pad the KD, but can't quite find it. Yoshi finally manages, despite a rough start, a clutch there at the end. Will secure Big Brain Esports around. They hang in there.
Yeah, they do, in fact, hang in there. A bit of a scrappy start at the very beginning, but then an organized push certainly allowed them a really clean entry onto the site. So very much liking what I'm seeing here so far from Big Brain Esports, but we're not out of this yet. This very round will be deciding whether we are going into the overtime on our very first map out of the BO3, out of the 3 possible maps that we could see. So we could be in for quite a long ride here, folks. But yeah, look, RDC still, for the majority of their performances, they were the ones that whenever they would be the winners of the rounds, it's off the back of a really well set up, really well behaved almost kind of defense. And so it's just more so the issue being is that the moment kind of they start getting picked apart one by one, they get a little bit, it seems, maybe flustered. So, I mean, I could still see, you know, a rather clinical closure by RDC, albeit in the same vein, Big Brain Esports, their performance has been absolutely formidable.
5 seconds left.
Yeah, it really is quite too close to call at the moment. I was leaning more towards Radical Rebels in that previous round, but given how that played out, I think Big Brain are still in with a chance. Again, it comes down to the timing. If they can hurry things up a little bit and keep the player advantage early, I think it should be their round. But, you know, yet to find out.
Yet to find out, indeed. Well, already quite a centralized push seems to be looking to be busted out here by the camp of Big Brain Esports, looking to just try to tank on as much as humanly possible here. Already Fishnul repelling in. This time it's her kind of role to be, I suppose, the replacement of Nook, as it's her to keep on applying that sort of pressure from the sidelines. Do we get to see, though, that continuation? Do they stall out? Now, that is going to be a whole different question. Given the outcome before, well, it's really hard to really find any sort of actual big, proper response on either end of the spectrum. So, saying that, very thorough drone work, which is a very commendable thing to really take note of. And already with the introduction of Bernabear on the Jackal as well, this time looking to get a little bit more proactive about their plays, about their setups.
Yeah, I like how this is playing out for Big Brain. They do have a minute and a half left, roughly, to make their way onto that site. Grenade now goes out to try and catch that shield, but it will be caught by the Wall-My Magnet. So they need to burn a little bit more utility and most importantly time, but they will find Psycho at least for their troubles. And Psycho, of course, top fragging, doing so much damage. Certainly a great pick for Big Brain.
Absolutely. Already Big Brain just doing work, putting in the effort, and this is exactly what you want to see. Exactly what you want to find yourself in, the kind of situation. We could possibly even see that sort of push even further. Those Candela charges from above as well could be a pain to really deal with. So once those come into the swing of things, this could be a rather potent play. Mystique down and out. Aussie Ash, Spartan, and Meeps, the three remaining members, will need to make sure that they nail their performance here as much as humanly possible. Otherwise, well, we are looking at a rather dire result of it all. Burnaby already picking apart Spartan. We are looking to go possibly into the overtime straight off the bat here, Spud.
Meeps and Ash, however, will find the picks of their own, and through the smoke, evens it out back to a 2-2. Now it's all up to Repel and Fish Noodle. I'm not sure where that shot went, but Aussie Ash going for the peaks of smoke, blocks her sight. She's the only one left on the side, will be taken out by Fish Noodle on the flank now. It's all up to Meep. She does find the kill, but the diffuser is down. Repel gets outside to safety, and now it's a post-plant.
Post-plant situation indeed. 1v1, both players are very much healthy and ready to rumble. Do we get to see, though, that rumble happen? Do we get to see Meeps play for that time, given that the timer has been turned 180 upon her? Finds the repel, actually, and absolutely gets a run out. Perfect timing as she's just about to jump on that diffuser and be able to get rid of it. A phenomenal run-through, as it feels a little bit odd that repel couldn't really maybe even hear that sort of run out, but regardless of that, well done to Meeps and well done to Radical Rebels.
Yeah, that was a bit...
Whew.
I don't know, it was close. It was a smart play, but not quite
Spicy.
smart enough, because Meeps was just smarter. She knew that repel was going to happen. Living up to her name, I suppose. Upside down repel, and so of course you would jump out there. Perhaps, you know, the better play would have, I don't know, gone prone, or maybe even gone prone upstairs, so that when they jump out the library window, you don't get such a vulnerable position. But it is what it is, a 7-5 victory to Radical Rebels. And of course, this is their map pick, so a much needed win there. The half of Big Brain, though, they have their work cut out for them. They do need to win on their own theme park in order to take it to the decider, where, of course, we have mentioned it is a little bit more favored for Radical Rebels.
Yeah, look, it's been very much of a roller coaster of emotions. Whilst we do say that, yeah, look, Radical Rebels so far looking good and everything, 7-5 scoreline is still a really close one, given that it did kind of end up getting a little bit more of a back and forth close to the conclusion of Chalet. But with that said, look, I'm very much still excited about Theme Park. I'm keen to see how will it really evolve, whether Big Brain Esports will get to wake up, or whether Radical Rebels will mop it up, take it a cheeky 2-0, and will claim their third place. But in saying that, we are going to be going to a quick short break to get ourselves recuperated, get the lobby set up, and well, after that, we shall see you in just a brief moment. Take it easy, don't go too far away.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just concluded up our very first matchup on Chalet. It was a tumultuous run, but RDC were the ones to come out the victors on that one. Now we do move into our second map. It is going to be, well, Theme Park, the meme park indeed, and honestly, I'm quite excited. The map that has been really out of the competitive map pool for quite a while, and finally being reintroduced back into it, has seen quite a number of rather interesting plays, to say the very least, from the variety of different OC leagues. But between these two rosters, Spot, I believe you mentioned before that RDC were the ones to have a higher success rate on it. Is that correct?
Actually, no, because neither of these teams in the regular season played Theme Park, and we've only seen it once. In fact, okay, out of the entire Women's League season, we've seen it for once, and that was Big Brain playing it last week against Vertex, and that was a loss for Big Brain Esports, so we know how that went. So, actually, yes, and sorry, Vertex also played Theme Park once, and that was against Volpez, so, but they're not the subject of today's game. So, yeah, could favor Big Brain a little bit, but again, they did lose it last week, so I don't know how that's going to play against Radical Rebels, especially, given the very aggressive style that Radical Rebels plays, which is a little bit more like Vertex. Could backfire on them, honestly.
Yeah, that could backfire indeed. But honestly, I've been quite keen to see what kind of I suppose response from BB could be done here, given that technically the fact that it was only them who played it comparative to RDC, it could be a bit of a dual-edged kind of sword, where on one hand, it's obviously, well, they already have had the experience of playing against some of the higher tier opponents, and kind of getting to, study up on their own mistakes. Or it could also serve as a bit of a kind of an extra VOD for teams like RDC to essentially study up and say, oh, okay, so this is where they were having issues. Let's try to add extra pressure onto that. Now, given those very circumstances as well, look, we could certainly see a pretty big cleanup, but in the same vein, if BB have put in the effort into studying up and even allowing that kind of map to slip by in the vetoes, that certainly shows that they have at least a certain degree of confidence in that map. So suppose we have to take it as it is at a face value.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I'm not too sure which way to call it. I think the results will be about a 7-5-ish, 7-4 maybe. But I don't know if that will be for Radical Rebels or for Big Brain. I honestly think it could go either way. Of course, Radical Rebels do have that one map advantage, so they're going to have a little bit of breathing room, and that's certainly going to help with the confidence and just being able to play a little more freely. Whereas for Big Brain Esports, this is their last chance to get to that final map. If they don't win here, then it is game over, and they will finish in 4th place. So a lot riding on the line here. Radical Rebels do also have Bank to fall back on, whereas for Big Brain Esports, Bank, let's see, have they played Bank? They've only played Bank once, which I believe was a win against Triari. So they have some experience, but still not as favorable as compared to Radical Rebels, I think.
I see. Yeah, look, I mean, with Radical Rebels, the kind of the march that they even put on back in the first round of the playoffs, it would still be quite a good kind of way to gauge how much are they prepared for this kind of playoffs. So honestly, I'm very much keen to see what could be done. As a matter of fact, I believe the game is also quite ready. So let's have a quick look at the theme park itself. Pardon me, no map flyover just yet. But look, keen to see how will it all perform, given that, the defense for Radical Rebels, they've managed to show us a pretty decent one, albeit a couple of hiccups here and there. But on a map like Theme Park, with the fact that, again, no actual kind of showcase previously by RDC, I'm kind of keen, Spud.
Yeah, Big Brain might have saved pocket strats for this, but maybe Radical Rebels have as well. And maybe this is all part of the plan. I think we'll ask when it gets around to the interview. There we go. Think about it again. And I figured it out once we saw the players who were playing. I figured out why they banned the Finker. Fish Noodle is insane on the Finker. With the LMG and the 2.5 times, she absolutely dominates. So that's probably why they banned the Finker.
Fair enough. That's a fair good point. Understandably, that as well. Look, I mean, not having the ability to negate the early damage as well would certainly pose a bit of a problem for the rosters. So understandably that, the attack gets a little bit riskier. Let's call it that, I suppose. On the side of the defensive bans, though, Mira out of the equation, nothing too surprising, given that she does allow quite a fair bit of a hunker down, really, set up. So Valkyrie out of the equation as well means, well, that flexible info gathering utility is no more there. So do we, apart from that thinker band that we already highlighted, anything specific that could really throw kind of a spanner in the works of either of the teams, or is it just more so just, yeah, we kind of cater more so to the meta, we play into our own kind of strengths, and kind of given that it's only, 2 bands per side, there's still quite an abundance of the operators.
Yeah, I think this is more, the safe and standard picks. Thatch and Mira, very common. Mira on a defender-sided map that's already notoriously difficult to attack as Theme Park, you just cannot let the Mira go. It will absolutely rip you apart. So no surprises there. They've taken out Mira. And then Valkyrie, yeah, getting rid of some of the information that Big Brain have been relying on. We did see Chloe playing that Valk to really, really good effect. Bernabet as well to some degree. So yeah, I think Radical Rebels certainly have been studying their opponents both for the game and over the course of the last game, and they've figured out where some of these mistakes, where Big Brain feel comfortable, and certainly removing those options from them.
Absolutely will.
10 seconds left before
Let's see if that actually works out and
to insertion.
actually helps the
Attackers
team.
are moving to defuse a bomb.
As it stands, Radical Rebels were able to quite well compose themselves even without the Finca. Same can't be really said about Big Brain Esports. Kind of a continuous switch around of different operators in hopes of finding the right way around. Interestingly enough, though, a switch of the roles, at least in the context of this round, for Chloe, bringing in the Monty instead of a Twitch. What do you reckon?
And that's interesting. Chloe was able to do so much damage as that entry player, and I'm honestly a bit perplexed. I think she would have done very, very well here. Maybe Yoshi could have been switched onto that, onto the Monty. Although Yoshi, of course, once put onto Flank Watch, actually did manage to do a lot of damage. Or maybe that was Burner Bear, I think. One or the other. But either way, strange pick. We'll have to see how it plays out. Maybe, we've underestimated this, and this will be the perfect replacement. But who knows?
Who knows indeed already. The entry, though, is being committed to. Bernabe is going to be going in for the solo kind of venture. Meeps has the angle and gets the drop onto Bernabe. That's both Zofia and the Gridlock out. No more of your, soft breach and stun utility. No more of your, passive flank watch, I suppose you could call it. So a number of problems starting to elevate here for Big Brain Esports, and oh boy, yeah, that's the kind of result that you want to see.
Attackers have located a bomb.
I love doing that to people, though. I love placing one of my magnets there. But yeah, again, the solo push just doesn't really work out. We've seen it so many times, and I'm just a little bit frustrated that they haven't picked up on that so well. Attempting now to get rid of some of this utility. There are lots of magnets and ADSs, but they will finally clear it out with none to spare, of course. Chloe looking to get that information, but Spartan actually underneath as well on the flank. Might be able to pick off Chloe unaware. She has her back turned, but she will turn it just at the perfect time. Position given away, but C4 as well could certainly damage the attack here.
Absolutely, already quite a fair few frags have been put up. Repel being the only one to play around. No, Chloe taken down and overwhelmed. 1v5, 1v4, 4v0. It's all just fell apart there very quickly for Big Brain Esports, and a rather unfortunate result as it is, but look, a good hold by Radical Rebels. They knew exactly when to play, how to play, and how to play around there. The utility as well, maybe a little bit of a too hasty of a usage from Big Brain Esports, but certainly a solid, firm, one could even say, start for Radical Rebels on their first round, especially on the defense.
Yeah, honestly, there were a lot of things that Radical Rebels did very well. They got those first 2 picks on players that really should not have been walking in by themselves. And then they fell back. They didn't expose themselves to too much risk. Spartan didn't get too antsy playing that flank, shot some drones, did a bit of shooting, and then fell back and waited for the perfect timing. And then Big Brain, although this time, I will give it to them, the timing was faster, they didn't have enough players to actually get any control of the site. It was just Monty and Repel going for the plant, so no cover. So unfortunately, again, falls apart at execute. Monty play also didn't work out quite so well, and I think that was the fact that they didn't really use it for information. Monty was kind of standing there by himself, and I would have liked someone pushing behind them to actually make use of that.
To emphasize, yeah.
That's my thoughts, at least.
Yeah, look, understandable. Yeah, certainly Big Brain Esports kind of made themselves a little bit maybe too scarce on their setup and on their push and the play, so rather unfortunate result as it is, but look, not out of this yet. Quick change, and a very prompt one from a Monty to a little bit more of a proactive operator in the form of an Osa, still allowing that sort of a shield play to have a little bit more of a, I guess you could call it the safe ground, or having the ability to reinforce some of the footholds, plus the gun itself, in tandem with the rest of the operators, should be I reckon should be a pretty solid lineup for Big Brain Esports to go about. But generally speaking, well, you would want to, at least have some sort of an adjustment play to happen between the two rosters, and not a whole lot of ways to really counter the Vigil. So Psycho should basically get free real estate if she plays her utility correctly.
In fact, there's 2 players upstairs, both the Mute and the Vigil, so they're going to be able to play off those trades. A little bit isolated, though, from either side, and with that being said, Meeps goes down to that frag grenade. But Fish Noodle, a little too aggressive. Spartan does get the retrade, and yeah, unfortunate. Not quite sure what that push was.
Yeah, a bit too confident, maybe expecting only to have a singular person there to be playing around, and well, in reality, things that don't really pan out as much as Fish Noodle would have wanted, but a good, solid crossfire and a good kind of safe place play. Spartan might just have her hands full as well. Getting rid of Yoshi is a great way about it. And all of a sudden, again, it's those one-by-one pushes that seem to be the absolute bane of existence for Big Brain Esports. It's just almost feels like they're trying to utilize those initial 2 entries as kind of the live drones, I guess, with a little bit more spice to it, but it didn't really bring any actual result to it all, which at the end of it all kind of resulted in their own unfortunate demise. So 3v4, whilst yes, Meeps is out, that's C4 gone, that's the long-range capabilities of a 1.5 times scope gone. Nothing else really reads into this. Psycho, though, out of the equation means that now it's an even-Steven game.
Yeah, they are going for this yellow wall take, and Repel is in a good position, but will be challenged by Psycho, I believe. Not Psycho. Someone upstairs, Spartan, who does finally take her down. Chloe finds 2, however, she's on the site, but with the fuser dropped... Oh, no. Chloe actually has control of it. And can go for the plant. What is going on?
It's going to be big. Yes, Spartan offside, about to find herself a frag. That's a quad. We've already seen an ace from Psycho. Now another member of RDC about to possibly pull up with an ace herself, though needs to nail her shot. Does know about the position around the throne. Does nail as well. That's a perfect play. Spartan does manage to make it work, and a defuse on top of it all. Perfect execution there, and well, rewarded at the end of it all with a round win as well. 2-0 for RDC as they keep up the pressure rather nicely.
That's 2 plants, but 2 diffusers for Radical Rebels. Both times, well, okay, the first time was very, very convincing, but that second time, really Big Brain should have had that. It was a 2v1. They had control of sight. It was all up to Spartan, but unfortunately Burner Bear caught looking the wrong way, and that was it. Then it was a 1v1, and of course, in those situations, anything goes. And with a player like Spartan on the field, Chloe just didn't stand a chance. 2 rounds for Radical Rebels.
Your bombs from being defused by attackers.
2 rounds indeed. The way how it was played out, it was a rather clinical posture there by Radical Rebels, being able to keep themselves pretty well composed is all that they would have really wanted out of all of that setup. But do we get to see that kind of a continuation in this whole storyline? That's a whole different can of worms, I suppose. And well, certainly could be looking at a rather,
10 seconds left.
well, dominant side, at least on the defense. It's been so far a pretty good roam game. The one thing that we have to really worth
Attackers
mentioning really about Radical Rebels is kind of yeah, the roam game, the off-site presence has been rather plentiful.
Yeah, Radical Rebels have just had so much reign over the map. Even if Big Brain managed to get a foothold in, Radical Rebels, with the roam and also the flanks, as we saw in that previous round, have really made sure Big Brain don't have much control over anything for too long. Bear, though, will finally find an opening pick onto Spartan of all people. That is a good pick to begin with, because, of course, she did a lot of damage last time. So, a good start for Big Brain, but will it be enough to get them over the finish line?
Yep, suppose we'll have to wait rather patiently for that to really happen. Already, Fish Noodle, again, the same window, but just baited out and will completely shut down. Again, Big Brain Esports falling into the very same problem of just not drawing it out thoroughly, not pushing together, once again pushing through those very choke points, and it's something that you would prefer to avoid. Psycho again punishes yet another player, just things not really looking up for Big Brain Esports at all, as Repel, well, at least she's able to find some sort of a response back into Spartan and Neeps, but look, already damage has been dealt and quite a precious amount of utility completely exhausted.
Will make their way up to this initiation wall, which is the side, of course, but there's still mute jammers, there's still the Runing Gate to get through, and I'm not sure what else they have left. It's all up to Yoshi, of course. She does have some utility, but if she gets taken out here, then this could be the end of it. Tak now has well and truly stalled out here.
Yeah, though, I mean, you say that, the breach is already starting to happen. Mystique's position would have been huge, would have been precious, but completely whiffs her shots. Repel is the one to claim the frag. Yoshi only down but not out, and will be able to get picked back up, courtesy of Chloe, back into the 3v2, but Yoshi is basically on the death's door. Was Yash and Psycho, though. Both players have been seeing a pretty decent performance overall. Do they get to perform here? Do they get to showcase their prowess here to the fullest? Now that is going to be the grand question of it all, given all things considered. Push about to start happening, and, well, 28 seconds to go. We just about to see the go time. Psycho gets better of Chloe. That's one of the high HP operators completely gone and out.
Position giveaway by that pre-fire Psycho, looking for the flank. Doesn't quite see Aussie Ash now in a pretty much pressured from this position, but she does have the softballs to work with. Repel on the entry finds a triple, and now going for the defuse. It's up to Yoshi to cover, but Psycho is on the flank, finds one, and now it's once again. Oh no!
Oh, no time.
Forced to get off that defuse, and that's it.
No time at all. Yeah, no time found, no time wasted. And perfect lineup, I have to say. And yeah, look, RDC continuing that domination certainly has been just perfect in the way how they've been executing. 3-0, a very confident scoreline so far, posing by us a question of whether, well, Big Brain can really find their own kind of solution, or whether it is going to be a rather, well, a much more quick, or much quicker game, rather, pardon me, between the teams. Do we feel
Defenders, protect your
this is going to be,
by attackers.
you know, the one where Big Brain Esports might pull a comeback on the defense, or are we starting to lose hope here, Spud?
Look, there's two ways of looking at it, I think, at this point. Radical Rebels, 3-0 and up. Sorry, 3-0 up, right? They've gone a full site rotation, and their defenses have looked very, very solid. And starting on the defense, usually the better option for Theme Park. Yeah, not looking good for Big Brain. But on the other hand, if you look at how those rounds actually ended, Big Brain able to get plants down in 2 of them, and the last one almost got a plant down as well. It was just running out of time. So honestly, Big Brain are actually getting very, very close, and it's just, again, coming down to that final execute. If they manage to get that, then I think Big Brain could still clear it back up to a 3-3.
I'll have to wait and see if that is actually going to be the case. See if we could be seeing some sort of return to form, because Aussie Ash bringing in the Clash, there's a lot of that stopping power that could be introduced. And look, the possibilities could be absolutely endless. Abilities are certainly there. Drone game. Do we feel like the drone game has been improving, or has it been kind of just again all over the place?
I don't know. I feel like based on how the result... Oh, no. Not like that. That was a nasty shot from Psycho. Perfectly played by the Clash as well. Once again, Fish Noodle from the same window. Although she did manage to stay alive a little bit longer this time.
Yeah, look. But just only a brief moment longer, unfortunately. Not a whole lot of chance has been really given there. Already though, Meeb's getting rid of Chloe as well. She was one of the big key players to establish some of those footholds. With her out of the equation, this is looking to be extremely problematic, and we could be running into a whole lot of problems. But still, possibilities are there. 5v3 though, still a tall order.
Yeah, you were mentioning about the drone work and whether it's improved. I was going to say it has, based on the result of the last round, but I'm not quite sure anymore. I mean, they walked right into that Clash and Psycho hiding behind it. Again, although they did spot out Meeps, it wasn't enough. Mystique finds another, and I don't know where the flank drones are. So, okay, well, it was on the entry, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either here. I'll be genuinely honest here with you, Spud. Just things been looking just a little bit all over kind of the shop here, all over the lot. Not really looking particularly favorable for the attack, as they just keep on bleeding the resources, bleeding the player numbers, and it's just been not particularly great time, just period, for them. Unfortunately, as things do stand... Repel and Burnabear may just end up using this kind of time to, you know, talk with the rest of the team and try to, you know, get some sort of a response as to, well, as how are we losing this, how we end up just going for those very minimalistic entries. And look, yeah, eventually even more problems might just start compounding here, I reckon.
Operators, you are out of time.
Time is once again the player that Big Brain Esports haven't counted on. 2 times they've run out of time, although that time there really wasn't much Repel could have done. 1v4, it seemed a little bit that Big Brain were kind of funneling into Radical Rebels crossfires, and again, no drone work. And that's...
No drone work.
Yeah, a lot of it I think is down to the fact that Spartan's mute placements are very good and certainly denying a lot of that information, but clearly, someone should have seen that Clash and should have seen, hey, there's someone behind it. Don't peek that. Jackal had smoke grenades. Could have cut off some of those rotates. I did like they tried to use the frag grenade to clear him out, but second one didn't land. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be falling apart here for Big Brain.
Yeah. Morale seems to be feeling a little bit at an all-time low, given that they were just 1 round away from pushing to overtime, and who knows what would have been the end result by the conclusion of the first map if OT would have happened. But yeah, I gotta say, I think it's a kind of a bit of column A, column B here, Spud, given that, yes, Spartans, I mean, her mute jammers, at least, well, for example, we could even take this very round as kind of a sample size. Majority of those mute jammers are all around the actual site. There's still quite a fair bit of the ground to be covered by the drones that is outside the site, and we haven't really per se seen a whole lot of setups. Those vertical though angles, deadly from RDC, and something that I have been a great fan of watching and seeing what they bring out, because those kind of cheeky angles, borderline impossible to really counter unless you have a really good, you know, counter drone play. And once again, well, good effort into just pushing in the drones first, trying to scout out, but again, it will need to be a coordinated push where, well, Radical Rebels will be able to keep catching Big Brain lacking pretty much at any point in time.
Yoshi will be the first to find a pick onto Psycho. That's a good first pick, as we've mentioned, but usually things don't go very well from there. Finally, Chloe giving that information, but Meeps from below might be able to catch a player. Will maybe find two. They've just moved past it. Got away with their lives there. And now that vertical pressure from the sledge is going to be huge. Aussie Ash still with one more C4 though. Placed above her, might catch this sledge, but not quite. Sledge actually downed, I believe. Yes. Still pick upable, but C4 burnt and 2 players down.
Yeah, with 2 players down, Will Fish Noodle down but not out just yet. We could be seeing a rather interesting play, interesting collapse to possibly later down the line happen. Curious though, how will the rest of the team be able to, you know, perform and keep their form and keep themselves on track, because this could be a rather interesting and rather still a dangerous venture to happen. Repel looking to get a little bit more proactive with a minute to go. Big Brain Esports, the first time in a while, they have the advantage here.
Yeah, now looking to start working this wall. It is the name of the game. With that Kite Claw gone, they can start opening up. All 3 defenders now remain on site, so we know that they don't have to worry about flankers, but do Big Brain know that? Another thing is, I'm not sure if this is a glitch, but there's still an awful lot of utility remaining for Big Brain, which is rare.
Yeah, it's a rarity, but at the same time, this kind of reads into possibly just the storyline of them not even getting to really to the point where they get to use the full, or rather to flex the full, you know, loadout of their operators to even get to the site to dedicate towards their win. So there is a possibility of that. 14 seconds remaining though. Aussie Ash already nails one of the players. Chloe down and low. Aussie Ash gone. It's an absolute flurry of kills. 7 seconds to go. The plant is about to start going down. This could be denied very quickly, very promptly. Burnabear down 1v3. Lines up Meeps. No, the plant has gone down. Finally, Big Brain are looking to be in control, and they certainly will be. Burnabear to completely demolish the opposition. Finally, we get to see this sort of a progression coming out from Big Brain Esports.
Bit of a messy round, but they do clinch it out. On the part of Radical Rebels, though, it was actually really close. Yeah, if Meeps had actually managed to kill that player hiding in the corner in that pottery stove and then swung onto the diffuser, that would have been the round. She was really close to the diffuser, or if she had just ignored that player completely, since I don't think Repel was even looking the right way, right?
Yeah.
It was very close, really messy for Big Brain, even though they won that, right? And they did a lot of things much better. I really like how they used the Monty to get the info and then just nail down wherever those Romans were trying to go. But man, that was way too close for comfort for Big Brain.
Oh yeah. It was absolutely too close to comfort, and something that, again, that sort of flank watch needs to be a point of talk, a point of concern, given that all the problems were starting to point towards those problems, towards those issues. So quite possibly this kind of result, this kind of, well, talking point is where things could certainly start to escalate and elevate, but well, yet another round, yet another battle to take on Big Brain. They've managed to just itch away, and already look at the positioning of the players from Radical Rebels. Look at the spots that they've been already taking from the get-go. They're knowing that basically that sort of spawn by the go-karts has been kind of the go-to spawn for BBE. So if Radical Rebels would have been able to find the early frag off the back of that even spawn peak, that's a factor and element of that tilt starting to settle in. Spartan getting the better of Yoshi. That's your Jackal, that's your Tracker, and that's your Roam Clear utility completely neglected and punished.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the time we criticize what Big Brain have been doing, but I think we should also emphasize how well Radical Rebels have been playing. They have just been picking their shots. And I said earlier that maybe Big Brain setups are better, but setups from Radical Rebels are no slouches either. They've got those insane, crazy angles that are just so difficult to contest and just absolutely amplifies the strong mechanical skill that they've been playing. Radical Rebels are running away with this, and Big Brain are just struggling for answers.
Yeah, struggling for answers indeed. Psycho getting the better of Fish Noodles so far. Not making this any easier. The setup, Oziash though completely unaware, caught lacking, found and destroyed. Mystique though getting the better of Benabe as well. That's your Nook out of the equation. Repel though too clean on the play. Meeps with the Capcan trap and Radical Rebels from behind. Oh lordy. Ay ay ay. Just all completely fell apart. Not the kind of result that you wanted to see as a Big Brain, well, fan and a player. 5-1. Only 2 rounds away for Radical Rebels to claim and completely wrap up this third place contention BO3 and to send Big Brain into, well, only just the 4th place, which could be a rather, well, unfortunate result, really, to say at the very least. Now, going into the second half, do we expect Big Brain Esports to get back into the swing of things based off just the sheer amount of effort, or are we full sending Radical Rebels camp now, Spud?
Yeah, look. Theme Park is a little more defender-sided. Yes. Yeah. But I don't think it's a 5-1 defender-sided. And just based on the momentum and how these rounds have been playing out, I don't think the results are looking the way they are because it is defender-sided. I think it is because Radical Rebels have been playing really well. So, Big Brain, I think they have a chance to get a few rounds. And if they can get the next few rounds consecutively, then sure. They're still in with a chance. I mean, they've got some good utilities, some good setups. But it's going to be difficult, right? They're already 1 round away from match point, so they really don't have that much wiggle room. And any mistake, we've seen being punished by Radical Rebels. Any mistake could mean the end.
Absolutely. Well, at least, technically, Big Brain Esports still have at least 1 round buffer before anything gets completely and utterly dire. Changes do come around, though. Psycho introducing now a fuse on their own attack with the LMG, with the 2 secondary heart breaches. Quite a diverse, we have to say, a lineup of the operators, ranging from your kind of roam clear in form of the KB to that conventional kind of vanilla ops duo of the Thermite and Sledge, plus the fuse as well. Kind of now, after the sheer amount of reworks, buffs, and whatnot, has kind of became almost a self-sufficient kind of unit, a self-sufficient entity. So, quite curious how will the rest of the plan kind of pan out. Certainly still plenty of the presence by Big Brain Esports upstairs, but is it enough? Well, that could be a completely separate kind of question. So far, I mean, well, with Aussie Ash and Psycho already making an entry, do we expect that Fish Noodle will be back in a way and kind of we see just a complete kind of default back to the site?
Yeah, this is uncharacteristically slow of Radical Rebels. Usually they do things a lot quicker. But, you know, we know they're great at those explosive entries, so could still certainly make things work. And with the breach now well and truly open, I think they've caught up for lost time. A minute left, but there's still 5 players apiece, and that means a lot of killing in a very short amount of time.
Absolutely, quite a fair bit of effort will need to be put in, and well, certainly those fuse charges won't be really making things a whole lot easier either for the defensive side. Really, already quite a fair bit of utility has been exploded, and it seems to be like it's about to be go time. Mystique already getting the better of Yoshi. That is a big opener for more frags if they do want to find themselves that match point. But oh, this absolute collapse, all falling apart. But Psycho is able to pitch in onto the whole dilemma 2v3 with 28 seconds to go. Might be seeing another one. That's a huge pickup as well, finding the shot onto the feet. 1 player off the side, 1 player on the side, and Chloe is nailing heads with that SMG-11 as Aussie Ash looking to make an entry. Finding yet another opener that's possibly could be there, but no, the plant and the prompt for the plant is going to be started. No read at all, so the free real estate on that plant and a close plant position to try to now to hold on to that onslaught. Oh, the timing. Oh, the timing. Could be big. Could be big. That is huge. Bernabear does get the better of the last player standing. So as it stands, very nicely done. Big Brain Esports. Yep. Go on.
I was going to say, I actually don't think that was too bad of a move, delaying the retake until after the plant had gone down. A lot of people's instincts would be to go rush it, stop the plant going down. But they weren't exactly in a good position and could have turned into a 1v1 trade out. So I like the fact that they waited for Bernabear to rotate over so they could push from both sides and then pinch onto that player at the end. I really like how that played out. How they looked to play it out. At the end, didn't have to do that because, of course, Bernabear landed her shots. But certainly the smart play there, and they will be rewarded for it.
Attackers need to locate and
Yeah, plenty of reward, plenty of plays have happened, and certainly allowed a really clinical performance by the end of it all. So really nice, solid clinical job there. Unfortunately for Radical Rebels, yeah, they just spent a little bit too much time, really. And being kind of unable to capitalize on that early momentum pretty much meant, well, death, really, for them.
Yeah, 3 minutes can seem like a lot of time, but it really isn't, especially when you're playing. It's so short amount of time. You have to make use of every single moment. I think the opening minute of that round was a bit of a lost opportunity for Radical Rebels. They didn't really take much control. They got 2 plays into control, right? And that was pretty much it. And so that was their downfall. Had they had a bit more time to get the info at the end, then sure, things could have changed differently. But it seems that Radical Rebels, at least on Theme Park at least, will face the same struggles that Big Brain have, and that is speedy attacks.
Maybe in the later stages of the attacking side, we could be seeing that sort of momentum play to happen already. Some last-moment setups could be a little bit costly for Big Brain Esports if Radical Rebels do end up catching on to that sort of play, but with already just about a minute to be expired, RDC might start to run into some more problems with those mute jammers to be placed out actually on a whole lot more of an extended way. So whilst Big Brain Esports just were just a little bit unable to find a whole lot of their own openers and the drones this time, at least on their own defense setups, they seem to be very much knowledgeable about how to play for that proper extension as well with those mute jammers. So RDC so far being forced to essentially take it at a slower pace. Not the ideal situation, not the ideal play, as well, call for that for the DKB utility does come around, but it doesn't really bring any sort of result, any sort of response, as well, at least the confirmation that at the initiation room should be clear eventually. But it's a very slow creep up, and with less than a round to go, it could be dangerous.
Again, time is of the essence here, and both teams really struggling on this particular map. 1 minute mark is usually where that wall gets opened up, but I don't actually think that's a sign. I do believe it is bunk daycare. No, it is initiation office. Okay, so they've at least got the site wall open. However, the first pick falls. A good trade back though, 4v4.
Absolutely. 4v4 is a great deal so far. More so for Big Brain rather than Radical Rebels. 40 seconds though remaining. Repel in a very aggressive position. Again, not really being flushed out in any shape or form. Flashed, but no emphasis on that push. Again, RDC stalling, being just unable to make that right call. And with Bernabear having that sort of crossfire, no even smokes plays really coming around. Spartan finally getting into the gunfight, and Bernabear and Chloe do mop it all up rather nicely.
From the initiation isn't working out quite so well, but Spartan with 2 picks, she does it all. She's got the diffuser and the kills now, but Aussie Ash will be taken down from the flank, and Fish Noodle cleans things up. A definitive, very convincing 2 rounds there needed for Big Brain Esports. And look at that timing as well. Perfect, waiting for that player, the flank watch, to fall and waiting for the diffuser, stop diffusing and look the other way before jumping in. Well done.
Yeah. Clean deal as the point disadvantages is slowly but surely shrinking between the two rosters. Big Brain Esports certainly managing to employ almost their opponent's tactics and just draining and playing for time. Whilst on the side of Radical Rebels, very much of a one-sided push, no flank play, no kind of decision to, rotate around and try for a different position. They seeming to be attempting to force the very same spot, but in doing so, just draining out the time. Feels rather confusingly odd, but I suppose that's the name of the game. Curious. Yeah, go on. Sorry. No.
I was going to say, it was a very interesting off-site hold because they had a player over in daycare, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bunk, sorry, looking into Inishi. They had a player at the top of yellow stairs. They've opened up the control office wall as well. And so it was fairly off-site, so much so that I actually thought the site was bunk daycare because I saw all the reinforcements going up there, but it wasn't. And I think that was the key part of Big Brain's defense there. Despite the pressure onto site, Big Brain still had all the power positions they needed to play and to contest the entries. And so because Radical Rebels didn't actually sweep from bunk side, they were forced into those crossfires being held by Big Brain.
Yeah. Well, Radical Rebels will start sweating pretty soon if the downward spiral continues here. The entry is about to start happening. Oh boy, yeah. Well, we were talking about their need to go in for the full send. It seems like it is going to be a full hot drop. Do we get to see any more than just one frag to be found? Drop down about to happen, and oh boy, this is going to be deadly. Full send in 3, 2, 1. In we go. Full Fiesta to be going in. Meeps completely blind. Aussie Ash down. Mystique out of the equation. Spot and gone. It's all on the side of the defense. Big Brain Esports now leaving only Psycho alive amidst all of this bloodbath and trading out only Yoshi for your 4 players. Yeah, that's a sure way to really throw out any sort of chances for coming back here. And 5v4. Spud. This is just about to be that case.
All I've written in my notes is Rush, Cardinal Hatch, and LOL, because that was not it, Chief. That did not work at all. They got 1 pick at the cost of 4. Yeah, not sure what that was about. I do admire the way they tried to change the momentum of this half and go for something aggressive, go for something unexpected. Although, I'm not sure what they expected on the other hand. And I gotta say, Mystique, the Ying play, you blinded your own teammates. That wasn't it.
Yeah, look, it has been a little bit of kind of all over the place. Whilst yes, Psycho can occasionally clutch up, and well, she managed to perform an ace clutch before. I don't think that any of that could really be chalked up here, given the setups, the positions, and yeah, look, our observer already starting to mention maybe map 3 question mark. Yeah, look, honestly, I'm starting to feel like it because RDC on defense, absolutely apex predators. RDC on attack on theme park, absolutely toothless cats. And with inability to do anything apart from maybe throwing a pillow or 2 at their opponents.
One thing's for sure, and that is Big Brain are still in the game. Mental would have been a huge factor here, and I was pretty concerned at the half swap when it was 5-1 and they already a map down. I thought, maybe this is the end. This is the downfall. This is where Radical Rebels clean it up. But Big Brain have shown us they're still very much in it to win it. They've won 3 rounds in a row and are 1 round away from equalizing with Radical Rebels. Maybe Radical Rebels have been, a little bit slacking, and maybe they'll clean it up here. But one thing's sure, if this continues, Big Brain almost certainly will take this map.
Yeah. I've been talking about, at the beginning of Chalet as well, between, that sort of, I guess, semi-aggressive gameplay that RDC we usually bring in, and that kind of more so lean into the strategy-heavy lineup of Big Brain. we were initially mentioning that, look, maybe comes Theme Park, we could be seeing a bit more favorable kind of scoreline, a bit more favorable play for Big Brain, but certainly it only came to fruition on the second half. So, as it stands, it's looking a little bit dicey here for RDC. We could be seeing something happening. Could be seeing some action happening sometime relatively soon. But again, unusual choice. Whilst yes, Psycho was able to make it work with the LMG or Fuse, the Fuse pick didn't not really dedicate a whole lot, at least in the utility department. The hockey pucks were all great at sowing chaos, but they didn't get rid of all the necessary utility to allow that early push. And better yet, with Aussie Ash as well, this very much again seems to be leaning into that very slower paced push. Whilst the drones are there to scout out the positions, those are being dwindled in their numbers rather rapidly.
I think one thing to consider with that Fuse play is where the soft floors are located. Above the throne, that barrel and maintenance wall, it's not actually soft, and so you can't actually fuse there. When you put the fuse, you're going to be going for yellow wall. But Radical Rebels didn't actually go through the yellow wall. They pushed through maintenance wall, and that was, I think, where there was a bit of a mismatch. Had they actually gone for that yellow wall play, fuse would have been huge.
Yeah. The way how they've so far been playing, RDC are looking to try to maybe take some vertical control over the waiting room. Hockey pucks are there going out to try to clear out at least the armory side of the location, and Repel pretty much sits calmly and really doesn't get too fussed. Look at the sheer amount of just area that Big Brain Esports are being allowed to just roam around, almost about to collapse around that whole push by Radical Rebels. And none of that, nothing has been really done to try to negate any of that. No attempt to go hunting, no attempt to kind of have that dual push, no attempt at just anything really. Yeah, they call out the positions, but apart from those just kind of face checks and swings, that's about it all. Like, where was where was all of that? Where was the scout and where was the drone? But it's just all kind of fell apart there.
Alright, now Big Brain just need to sit on site and they'll be good. But Bernabette didn't get the Mimo, she's still going for it. But then again, she has a diffuser, so it's pretty good. Oh, no! I think that was one down as well. So Yoshi is taken down, but hey, Pearl cleans up and Big Brain managed to get another round now that the tables have turned. Radical Rebels really, really struggling on this attack. I mean, I thought we saw it all just then when Big Brain were attacking, but now, alright, maybe it really is just Theme Park difference.
Theme Park diff, it seems indeed. A rather problematic diff as well, given that we went from a 5-1 to a 5-5 scoreline. About to be even possibly a 6-0 if the trend keeps on going, because so far not a single attacking round has been won by Radical Rebels. Very unfortunate result here for them, whereas very fortunate for Big Brain Esports, are slightly on the later end of the spectrum, but a return nonetheless, as well, they're in place for them to be taking, and yeah, the defense so far has been a formidable kind of side for Big Brain Esports as well to keep on gaining those points back for themselves. The question about the attacking side, though, will still stand, and something that may be worth to really talk about, especially once we do get to the interviews between the teams.
10 seconds left.
Now, going into the action phase, Spud, seeing the lineup that BB are bringing in, do we expect basically just about the same play, but a little bit closer to those entry points, or will RDC, now with the introduction of the line, are looking to make it a little bit more momentum-based?
Yeah, if anything, I would expect them to push from the cafe side instead. We do see two players making their way that way. I'm not quite sure where the progression is of the other players, but it seems to be fairly split up. And I'm not sure that's a play here because it means you minimize the chances of getting your trades back. And it's much harder to apply pressure to a well set up defense.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Just
A bomb has
so
been
far it's
located.
been pain town for Radical Rebels. With the way how they've been pushing, once again, looking to be a bit of a one-sided venture for them. As it seems that the entry point is going to be that CCTV / control room hallway, but it's Meeps already being the first one on the board and to go in for the push. The two pings are coming around as well. She just gets to try to essentially play around that sort of sport. Should be able to find maybe that initial gunfight, given that the person outside of the bunks has fallen back. The reswing from Yoshi is there, revealing her position, now confirming that there is one behind the stand in the initiation room. And, well, with the E1D coming out, well, it's time for the breaches, it's time for the push to happen. And, oh, the grenade denial is big, but the flash is also bigger.
Radical, however, don't actually capitalize on this. Yoshi is allowed to recover. Hole has been opened up, could actually get an angle if he stood on the counter, but they won't actually go for it now. And Yoshi is going to play close as well. Not sure if Radical Rebels are expecting this. Psycho will be taken down, but Chloe traded back 4v4.
Yeah, so far it's been a bit of a back and forth, albeit still the player advantage is in the hands of Big Brain Esports, about to claim their match point, and that could be a really big turnout. Mystique only now trying to go in for the push towards the office. The riddance of the Syria gate is there. 3v3, 30 seconds to go. This could be big. Now Spartan and Mystique will need to make sure that they are coordinating this play as well as they can, not really draining their utility too far and too much. But 20 seconds, do you really need to only now get onto the drone is the question that I have, because this could be a problem. One by one swings could be problematic. Mystique finds one. Bear goes down. Yoshi and Repel could be the end of it all. No, the diffuser has been dropped. The pistol is out there. No, the frag is certainly in the hands finally of RDC, but what a scrappy round it was, Spud.
Explosive entry. That was the only way they could possibly hope to have any chance of making that work. And yes, we did criticize them for droning, but it seems like it paid off. They figured out where, well, the site was for the most part clear. Repel did manage to get the diffuser, the planter, but unfortunately not able to get the fadeaway and will be taken out at the end. And so ends Big Brain's run, at least of consecutive rounds. Radical Rebels, a crucial round there to stop Big Brain getting onto match point and securing the 6-5
Defenders,
themselves.
protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Indeed, well, at the very least, Radical Rebels have managed to ensure themselves that OT, so there's still a possibility for them to completely close it all out. Now 1 round away, 5 frags, as a matter of fact, away from that series win. Now match point, series point for themselves, and the point 4 claiming that 3rd place, the $500 dues as well on top of it all, and, well, at least the bragging rights that they haven't really dropped down to the 4th place just yet. But the team that initially came into this season, at least on the side of, at least from our side, we didn't really have too many expectations given the previous results. This season, though, they decided to, well, come out swinging full strength from what almost felt like the team that would kind of more so just stick around kind of the bottom / middle of the leaderboard, now to being in the playoffs. Certainly managed to show us some really great siege, RDC. So do the Big Brain Esports, the team of absolute veterans, playing against a team that seeked some sort of a refreshment, and refreshment did come in full, but still plenty of road to cover for them to reach the full potential, I reckon.
Now, I really like this defense from Big Brain Esports. It demonstrates that principle we call defense in depth. It's more than a single layer. They've got that early layer out in the Nishi and control room, then they can fall back when need to, and they keep falling back. And that, I think, is a huge part of why their defenses have been so successful, and also, of course, why Theme Park is just so difficult to attack. it's really easy as a defender to extend outwards.
Absolutely, yeah. Tension is there with Mystique. She needs to be finished off if Big Brain want to get another chance, though. Nobody out of the defenders in the closest vicinity, so that's the Jackal back into the swing of things. Surprising that the drones didn't really, confirm any of that position, but oh, look at this. Basic cameras, guys. How is this being missed out that late into the round is beyond me, but well, maybe this is partially at least one of the reasonings why some of the rounds were not going the way how Radical Rebels wanted. Another E1D does get popped, and the onslaught and the push continues into the initiation office.
Mystique looking to find Yoshi, can't quite land the shots. In fact, they're all pretty much just stuck out here, but they haven't got initiate control at least. Whether they get the wall open, of course, is a different question, but that's certainly going to help. One for Repel. Repel going down, but Yoshi at least finds and confirms that kill onto Mystique. So, something for everyone. Chloe as well with the shotgun, and another two quick kills. Yoshi leaves just Psycho alone.
Psycho, well, was previously put into that position to clutch up. This would be one of the more important ones to try to clutch. Is she aware about the presence around the double door? Should be relatively knowledgeable. No, the EDD was there. Nails a nice, clean, crisp headshot for herself. Two more. She wants to find it. Yoshi revealing her position, now knowing about one person in the initiation. 15 seconds to go. The push needs to happen. Does she see the frost? She does see the pre-fire. That's one. Can she find another one? This would be the big one. 6 more seconds. Needs to go in for the push. No, the shots do not align. Burnabear to keep BB afloat. Off the back of, once again, a nearly thrown out round, but this time Big Brain Esports do get to stay in AOT.
Not again. What was that? A 1v4? 1v3?
Oh, yep. 1v4.
1v4. And it was Psycho left alone. And they thought, let's peek that again. That was too close, guys. Too close. They will get away with it this time, but you don't get away with it every time. And of course, Psycho's already shown you can't. So, Big Brain managed to clutch it to overtime, but just by the skin of their teeth. Like, it was so close. Psycho had a better gun too, so Burnabear really was cutting it close.
Yeah, look, there's a number of moments that could have been really avoided from both ends of the play, but overtime is certainly the way to go, it seems, as, yeah, look, this is, once again, this is, well, whilst Big Brain Esports were able to bring this really nicely for themselves, it feels rather... well, it's still quite a high-tension game for them, because if they win this out, then yeah, all good. They kind of nullify all the progress that RDC were able to acquire on map number 1. We go into bank, and, well, from there on, it kind of everyone's game. But if Big Brain Esports lose out this OT, yeah, that's it. That's GG, and well, no more is the dream of pushing this any time soon. But we'll have to see if anything will come to fruition. Meeps looking to try to make an entry around the bathroom area, but the question being is, again, how much of a drone work is actually going to be conducted here by Radical Rebels?
Yeah, Radical Rebels usually go for this vertical take. So Big Brain are committing some players to contest it, but I don't think it's too many. And most of the players, in fact, focus more on holding onto site. And that plays back into how things usually work out. Comes down to the last executes the crossfires, which win out the match. Also, like, of course, we saw earlier the placement of the Kaid claws. They're a lot harder to get from above, and that's certainly going to help in keeping that wall shut.
Absolutely. Well, already quite a number of problems about to start compounding, but oh, the impact trick works out perfectly here. RDC having a few problems here. Flashbangs coming around, able to get another plan down, another impact trick to come around. Does actually connect. Perfect play. Burnabear, meanwhile, also gets the better of Meeps. As it stands, well, a lot of time drained, a lot of utility, no more breaching utility apart from Mystique's secondary hard breach devices, and that's exactly what seems to be going to be the decision to go in for the peak.
They're now also playing these yellow stairs, could potentially flank around, but for the most part, all the defenders, in fact, they will be bunched up on this maintenance area and this throne door. And oh no, the internet takes another victim. Psycho disconnects. That's 2 disconnects of Radical Rebels so far. That's gotta hurt.
Has to hurt indeed, but Mystique does her best to try to equalize the scoreline again. Bernabe looking to, well, try. Well, we'll be looking more so at the cameras, pardon me. The rest of BB will need to do their best to keep on holding off. 30 seconds remaining. Do we see any sort of conclusion here as Yoshi does rid of yet another drone, another push, another swing, basically now becoming the next Frostmat? The moment somebody decides to jump in, it will be a whole lot of problems. No flashbangs either, which is an issue. Chloe gets rid of Mystique as well. That's the Spartan gone as well. All down to Oziash, and the only option she's being presented with is, well, to peek another position. Fed is the only way to describe what has been done and how Chloe was able to find those 3 kills.
The Smiggle, a triple kill from behind the throne. They knew exactly where she was, but that wasn't enough to take her out. Beautiful play from Big Brain there on the SMG-11. 6-7 now. Big Brain finally put themselves on match point. It was a long slog down from 5-1 though, mind you, all the way to 6-5 and then 6-6. They finally made it. But now, of course, we face the age-old problem of attacking on Theme Park. Neither team really has been able to do it.
Yeah, but do keep in mind that despite all the efforts, it's only a singular, well, defense round for RDC to really play around. So even though if they might end up winning out this defense and push this to 7-7, basically Big Brain Esports set themselves up for possibly a victory here on the second OT round. So theoretically, well, this might just end up being Big Brain Esports' round, but they've managed to show us at least one of the, if not but 2 of the rounds where they were able to push this to the absolute limit, the setup of Radical Rebels, and now it's more so of a question is, well, how much of a tilt factor there is as well on the RDC after. I mean, how demoralizing it would be seeing going from 5-1 to a overtime.
Yeah, facing that disconnect as well on one of those crucial rounds certainly won't help at all. I mean, the mental for both teams, I think, will have swung back and forth, and it's a matter of keeping consistency and maintaining that composure in those difficult times. And both these teams now have seen their fair share of difficult times. So if we do make it to map 3, that's when both teams will shine at their best, because now they're back to even ground. It's a 1-1, and yeah, anything could go once we get to the 3rd map bank. But that is if we get to the 3rd map, because of course that assumes that Big Brain do win this hat. There's still 2 rounds potentially to play, and who knows with how close this has been going and how, despite Big Brain taking the victory, sometimes it has been really close. So I wouldn't quite count Radical Rebels out yet.
Yeah, not quite there yet, indeed. But look, we'll have to wait and see what actually happens. What's been happening in their camp once we do get to the interviews as well eventually. But yeah, look, honestly, it's a bit of a shocking kind of result, a bit of a shocking turnaround. Well, we went from an absolute domination that we've seen from Radical Rebels, a good set of rotations on the defense, them knowing a good pacing on their own defense and knowing where to swing and when to swing, and the coordination was there. All of a sudden it's just all kind of fell apart. Yeah,
I think Theme Park is just a very, very finicky beast. No one has quite managed to figure out how to really attack it, although they have a solid start. No one can actually get onto the site and get the diffuser down or hold onto it for very long afterwards. So it's very interesting. It's even more so defender-sided than, say, Clubhouse, which for a long time, it's where you play those mini games. It's where very, very strong sites to hold on to. So, yeah, a team that can attack on theme park, in my opinion, that is the definition of a very, very good team. Because as we've seen, it is just so, so difficult.
Yeah, look, definitely, it's the kind of result that we did get to see, like, especially on a number of those entries as well from RDC. It's been kind of nuts, with the way how they've been kind of going in one by one has been a little bit of a problem. Them kind of realizing, oh, hey, we had already one, if not two people down from that one same position. Yeah, let's try to recontest it, and it feels counterintuitive, which is an issue that hasn't yet really been resolved by RDC, and something that will need to be issued and addressed later down the line. But look, as it stands, the way how the trend been generally going, we are possibly looking at the bank to really happen. Not too sure if we getting the player anytime soon into the lobby, but would be not in yet. Might as well. Well, since we are still waiting, I might throw this to a bit of a cheeky break and get ourselves all recuperated, get ourselves back into the swing of things. So don't go too far away. We are going to be back after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are back into the swing of things. OT on our hands, Big Brain Esports in the lead, rather, and Spud. So far, I mean, we've seen a 5-1 scoreline. Better yet, it's a 5-1, I guess, scoreline trade. Do we expect Radical Rebels to get back into the swing of things and just edge it away? Or kind of Big Brain Esports full-on sending on that late kind of reverse sweep?
I don't know. I feel at this point, I don't want to boil it down to something as simple defense win, attack lose, but that's pretty much how it's been playing out. If anything, Radical Rebels have had a slightly better chance when they're attacking, because even when they come down to those last minute executes and they just jump right in, they can still win those gunfights. And that's an interesting element of their playstyle. You mentioned that, they seem to keep repeating the same things, even when someone's already died from there. But I think I think a reason for that is really their playstyle. It's a double-edged sword. They're really confident at the gunfights, right? So they'll take the gunfights, but sometimes they shouldn't be. And that's when it plays out against them.
Yeah, look, has been a bit of a double-edged sword with their confidence and the way how they've been playing, so certainly understandable that, the moment they kind of burnt their hands against that same kind of fire over and over again, this is where they kind of all, fell apart. So, look, as it stands, Fish Noodle about to try to make an entry here, which could be a big opener, but interestingly enough, well, Cafe actually going to be allowed to be that foothold for Big Brain Esports to make a play, but now it's up to them to push this into OT, and with already finding that first frag onto Spartan, that's a great start for Yoshi and Co.
Don't think I've actually seen Big Brain push through Cafe. Most of the time it's through that control area, and of course we saw the Clash last time with the Alibi do so much damage, but now things have turned around. That's one pick on the Spartan, a really key player here, and they've got this control of Cafe, but not for long. Meeps takes out Burner Bear as well, and that's your flank watch denial as well. And Mystique, a second from Yoshi, wasn't doing so well at the start, but certainly seems to have found her feet now.
Yeah, getting rid of Spartan and Mystique, actually, that's a big effort now. Meeps and Psycho, the two players that have been showing themselves pretty well overall, apart from Oziash, who had a bit of a quieter game. Not really so far been as smooth of a sailing for RDC in general and period. because, well, Big Brain Esports looking to make that push. Without Burner Bears could be problematic. Snap, though. Oh my goodness. Meeps out of the equation just like that.
Yeah, Fish Noodle hasn't been doing so great this game, but she comes in clutch when you need her to. Brilliant kill there. Would have been devastating if that flank had happened, but Psycho still playing with that shield and that peek angle through the wall. And we'll get down by Fish Noodle, and with the Clash feeding information, this is going to be a very difficult push.
It's a problem. That's a huge, severe problem even as well. BBE, oh, actually starting to get a plan down. The rotation starting to come around. Well, in comes the call and, well, the rotation around. Oh boy, Aussie Ash and a whole lot of issues already. Full information about the presence, but Aussie Ash down. Now it's all down to Psycho.
B2, she's done it before. Can she do it again? No. Oh, not like this. She does get tagged out, but she survives and lives to fight another day. Will she win this engagement? She does. She takes out one, but not the second. Chloe, finally, of all times to do it, now is the time. They close out. They finally win an attack. And with that, hard-fought victory, 8-6 on Theme Park.
Yeah, look, congratulations, Big Brain Esports do keep themselves afloat. Well done, and honestly, yeah, from a 5-1 scoreline to a 8-6, I mean, that's one hell of a way to do it, and congratulations. Well, whilst they're not out of this yet, we still get one more map to watch, and that is going to be Bank. Quite keen to see this, because now, well, the pressure is on for both of the teams. RDC just can't seem to be able to find their own strides on Theme Park. Bank could be yet another problematic one for them, given the sheer abundance of the rotations that could be there, but their attack is probably the main concern here for myself.
Yeah, and honestly, based off the fact that Radical Rebels did pick Bank against Warriors last week, so they do have a preference for this map. They've played it before. Honestly, I'm a bit worried for Big Brain because, yeah, they really struggled. It took a lot of work to win out this map, whereas for Radical Rebels on their own map, it was much smoother sailing. So seems to me that all things considered, if you consider, well, each team will win their own map, because the results were a lot closer on Theme Park, I think things will lean towards Radical Rebels on the on Bank. And of course, it also comes out to who defends, who attacks us. Big Brain will be defending first on Bank.
Indeed, well, suppose we'll get to see that and more of it after a little bit of a break, so don't go too far away, stay tuned. We'll see you in just a little bit. Take it easy.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. Everybody talk. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the break. A little bit of a frame shift here. I'm not the Russian Cthulhu, but I am Proto, and I'm going to be filling in. Unfortunately, Cthulhu had to step out. Something came up. So we're here. I know, unfortunate, but it's what we've got to deal with for the rest of the evening. Spud, catch us up. What's been happening? We're going to map number 3. How are things looking?
Look, for those of you who haven't been watching, first of all, why? Because it's been a really, really close matchup so far. First map, 7-5 to Radical Rebels. This was on Chalet, their map pick. But Big Brain Esports managed to even it back out 8-6 on Theme Park, which was their own map pick as well. And we were actually looking at the rounds, and we added them back up, and both teams have got the exact same number of rounds, and both times there's a win by 2 rounds. So you cannot get closer than that, bar maybe an overtime, an 8-7 somewhere. And that honestly might be where we're heading, because we are going to Bank. Of course, I have called this previously slightly favors Radical Rebels, but I wouldn't count out Big Brain Esports so far. And certainly, judging from their performance last map, they're certainly able to pull back from those moments when they're looking a little down or worse for wear.
I mean, yeah, look, we've gone all the way to map number 3. But you said 7-5 and an 8-6. Both teams walking away with a win respectively. Bank, the stomping ground for where this final matchup is going to come. Obviously, the third place playoff it's more of just a seeding thing. Who walks away with the third place prize money? So obviously, both teams are going to be interested to get a chunk of that. But Bank, as you've mentioned, we saw RDC play it in the playoffs. We've seen it, multiple times before that. They are pretty proficient on this map. I mean, they had a pretty good showing against Warriors on it, and it was actually really good to see it from them. So, in saying this, going up against BBE tonight, hopefully they have done their homework. I do believe we are almost ready to get on into things. But Spud, before we finish things off, who do you think's walking away with this, provided that it is map number 3? In terms of, fatigue, what are we thinking? Who's going to come away with the dub here in the end, do you reckon?
Well, I don't know. I feel like the statistics-wise, in terms of how these teams have been playing, I think Radical Rebels have that advantage. But now that you mention it, of course, third map, fatigue coming into play. Big Brain have a lot of veterans who have been playing for a long time, and they've been playing competitive for a long time, and so certainly used to that long slog. So, all things being said, I think it is pretty even. I will favor Radical Rebels a little bit more based on the fact they lost 4-7 against Warriors, which is, it's Warriors. Big Brain won 7-2 against Triari on Bank as well, so it'll be close. But I still think Radical Rebels.
Okay, well, we are just waiting on some final confirmations, and then we will be able to get right on into the video and all that stuff. I believe we're just waiting on a player connect, or one more player, I think, is what the call has been. But yeah, from what I've seen and what I've heard behind the scenes, this seems like being a pretty intense matchup so far. I mean, 7-5 from RDC on Chalet is a map that, honestly, not really surprising. It's a map that favors their play style. Bank is going to be another one of those maps. It's a very attacker-sided map if played correctly. And I know you've already hinted to the fact that they lost 7-4 to Warriors on Bank. But in saying that, it's Warriors. They are undefeated. To get 4 rounds from them on it this season, who I believe they haven't dropped a game lower than a 7-2, 7-1, 7-2. They always close things out pretty quickly. That was one of their longer games in this whole season. In saying that, though, the teams are ready, so we're going to jump on in and familiarise ourselves with Bank, ladies and gentlemen. Our third map of the evening for the third place playoffs, RDC versus BBE. Going into it, Spud. The bands, as always, starting off. What have we seen? What's been the pattern this evening? Has there been a pattern? What are we thinking for Bank bands-wise?
Okay, well, you see, Radical Rebels always ban Finker against Big Brain. They've done it twice, and that's because Fish Noodle is cracked on Finker, so I think we'll see it again. Big Brain has banned Thatcher and Mira without fail both times as well. So I'm going to call 3 of the 4 bans, and then maybe a Valkyrie from Radical Rebels, which is what we saw last time on Theme Park.
I mean, Mira also is a point of possible contention here. She's out. So, think of Thatcher, Mira, and then something. We don't know what. Probably a Valkyrie. But given that Bank is more favoured to that attacking side, I think leaving the Valkyrie up here will benefit both teams in the end. Obviously, RDC are pretty proficient at this map. We saw them do really well against the Warriors on it, so they know how to play Bank. Even if Valkyrie is employed, they'll just bring out the IQ. There's the Thinker ban, and they're going to be really happy to sort of see that go. Interestingly enough, we see that banned out by them when Psycho is on the Thinker, but albeit, see how it works out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting ban.
Yeah. I was going to say, Meeps always plays IQ and has done very well with it.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Mira's up. Mira could stay in here. It's usually Mira you see first before the Valkyrie. Whether or not Mira go here is the big question. Obviously, Big Brain get the choice. If they want to leave it up for the downstairs, they are taking all the time. They haven't locked anything in just yet. But I'd imagine it is going to be the Mira. Safer bet. Safer bet. You do have to go with it. But those are the bans. Nothing out of the ordinary, I don't think, minus the Finker. But given how prominent LMGs are, Adrenal Surge, 2 nades gone 6, she's got a really good kit. So getting rid of her isn't really the worst of choices for both teams. But obviously, you've got some really good players, Psycho and Fish Noodle. They're going to be hurting a little bit, but I think they'll just pick up something else along the line. Psycho's jumping on the Yana, Fish Noodle on the Goyo. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to be very happy in those roles, given that both of those characters are really good at the moment as well. So, round number 1 on Bank, it's a downstairs spot to kick things off.
Yeah, usually the strongest of all the sites. So, interesting enough, in the major, for those of you who have been following, we have seen Teller's an open area holds as a primary site quite often. So, there's something to think about, but we're going to go with the tried and trusted solution here. It will be the basement. And I mean, it's no surprise here. Big Brain are playing fairly safe, fairly comfortable siege. I mean, just look at the bans. Always Thatcher and Mirror. So going for this bottom floor site as your primary makes a lot of sense. I do like the addition of Repel's Tachanka. Lots of rotate holes, the shield to work with, and it's a bit of a discount mirror and smoke all in one. So they've also got the smoke. That's a lot of denial.
Yeah, a lot of time on the clock for them to deny, obviously, the pulse as well for the information. So Chloe jumping on that. It's going to be a big thing for them to play off of that information. So hopefully they can make that utility worth bringing along. 30 seconds are gone. RDC making their way to the building, getting up onto the roof, setting up their flanks. Aussie Ash on the 0, keeping that locked down nice and tight so that they can play for this top floor congestion. Obviously, they do have some verticality in the hands of Meeps with the sledgehammer. Other than that, no sort of breaching charges or secondary soft breach. So they really have to make sure that she stays alive in this instance. But so far, it has been a pretty slow clear from RDC. They've taken on the top floor on the balcony side and top square, but other than that, they haven't really moved into the building too much. As I say this, they're walking into open. Psycho leading the charge on the Maverick of all characters. Now, seems like they have some inkling that this player is upstairs. Whether or not Aussie Ash can catch that person out on the rotate is a different question.
Shindle will fall back. We saw her previously playing that blue stairs. And I think this is a good decision. I mean, it is quite difficult to kind of flank back up now that they've got that middle floor and the top floor has been cleared. And the time-wise, it's pretty good. 2 minutes, a minute and a half now. Bank, this bottom floor usually favors defense, that total hold anyway, so, you know, not a poor decision. We have seen Big Brain give away early free picks a little too frequently, so I do like that they've learned from their mistakes and are falling back, keeping themselves alive.
Yeah, Big Brain choosing to play the 5-on-5 here. They obviously have the denial to play for that. And with this angle opened up here for Repel as well, it's going to make her job infinitely easier in denying the breach, as well as even maybe the walk-in. But RDC have a lot of avenues here. Obviously, a minute in play. They can choose to go for the hatch drop. They've got main stairs as an avenue, maybe a late flank into garage. But the setup is just so good here from Big Brain. They've got the Goyo, they've got the smoke, they've got the Tachanka, they have the nitros as well, and everything is there for them to start using. Here comes the denial though. Repel has the information. She knows that she can just keep dropping it. That fire charge is a bit interesting on the shield, but I do rate the choice. The shield is going to be cleared as well. No, it's not. The nade's going to miss, actually. It's only 30 seconds on the execute. Wall now just being opened up, and this is where things get difficult. Because of the time spent upstairs, they haven't had the ability to drain out all this denial, but there's so much in play for Big Brain, and with only 15 seconds, I don't actually think they're even going to have a chance here unless they go for the site drop. There's only 2 players inside of third, one for the drop. It is going to be Spartan to get that bomb down. Fish Noodle with the nitro close, though, is going to be able to deny. The bomb now needs to be repicked. Kills go on the board, 2 in favour of the attackers, but Chloe with the nitro is going to deny the bomb. They can't retrieve it. Big Brain walk away with round number 1.
So much denial there. There was just no way they could possibly get into sight. Still had Tachanka. I'm not sure if they had any Tachanka grenades left, but I'm pretty sure they had a smoke grenade. At least one smoke canister left. And then the Goyo canister was still on the desk, unpopped. There was no way. There was no safe place at all for Radical Rebels to get in. And certainly well played by Big Brain. And interestingly enough, Radical Rebels seem to now have caught the curse of the slow execute and the slow attack. Big Brain had a lot of troubles with that previously, we've seen that. And Theme Park, it was for both teams, but now on Bank, suddenly Radical Rebels struggling a little bit to get onto the site.
Yeah, there was a lot of time spent upstairs that, I mean, they had that roam clear pretty much down to a T within the first, 30 seconds. They were building, doing what they needed to be doing. And in saying this, they theoretically, should have had those hatches open. They should have been sort of starting to draw some of that utility out, maybe a player through the flank down main, something like that. Unfortunately, we didn't see that from them. Ultimately cost them in the end. They didn't really have enough time, as you mentioned, anywhere safe to really set themselves down. And losing the diffuser twice to the Nitro isn't the most beneficial of things to start you off either. So hopefully there's some learning done. And hopefully we see a little bit of a switch up here for RDC. They haven't changed up in terms of the roster that they're bringing. Neither has the defense, really, if you look at it closely. Obviously, the castle is a little bit different, as well as the alibi, etc., etc. But other than that, again, slower start to get to the roof and make their way in. Very similar to the downstairs take.
Yeah, I do expect we'll see players from beneath with those C4s, but Burner Bear will be the first to fall. This isn't the first time, and I don't think it will be the last. We've talked a lot about it. I'm not going to say anything more because it just feels a bit mean at this point. But yeah, Big Brain seem to have a huge problem with losing the first pick.
Yeah, losing the first pick as well isn't the best when you're trying to play for control, but Fish Noodle's actually going to hold strong here on this position at the top of the main stairs, which is interesting, provided that, you know, the utility is there, but I don't think she realised that Meeps was on the rappel, and unfortunately for the castle player, that is going to result in a little bit of L having from that skylight. And Chloe, though, there for at least somewhat of a trade to take down Psycho, keeping things relatively even, in forfeit of majority of her health, though, so not the best, but definitely not the worst. They still have this sledge to deal with on rappel, but at the moment, RDC still a player up, and with Chloe on pretty much minuscule HP, things are looking really good for their execute here.
Yeah, still some power positions being held by Big Brain, so it's not all over yet. Chloe also will be able to feed a lot of info and get, you know where these plays are coming from, and that she might actually go for this jump out, or at least the debate. She goes for this jump out, and that's Mystique down. Oh my goodness, that's a bit of BM as well. She gets away with it. Take a photo.
Oh, it's going to go down and out. Obviously, with the pulse outside, RDC know that they can play for the rush into the site, but the thing they don't know is Chloe still has a Nitro in play, so the denial from downstairs is going to be a really big thing here that BBE can rely on. With the bomb going down, obviously Chloe has the information to play with, but it's going to opt to come up the stairs to play for the support, and she's going to go down, but the bomb is also going down, and Meeps is there for two. Takes down Yoshi and Chloe. The bomb will go down, and RDC are going to walk away with a round as well.
Yeah, a little bit risky, that jump out there. Could have reaped huge rewards, but unfortunately, although she got the player on the rappel, it left one player all by themselves, and usually that's not what you want. So questionable, perhaps. I mean, given the position and the health that she was on, perhaps taking a risk like that was worth it, but it just didn't play out, and ultimately, without the C4 denial, Plant did go down, and so did Big Brain.
It's unfortunate, but, I mean, RDC, they made the change, and from what I can see in the score lines from the second map, it's starting to shape up to be a little bit more back and forth. Maybe that's because RDC have lost a little bit of that oomph. Obviously, fatigue coming into it, you do have to take it into consideration. Yes, I know it's something that is subjective at best to look at as a point of contention in terms of talking about what issues may be arising, but I see it in the scoreline. They won map 175 on a map that they really, really like. They then lose theme on an 8-6, which not the end of the world. They're still sort of performing. And here we are on Bank. They lose round one. They do come back with a very convincing round two, so we can't count them out just yet. But it is something that we do have to touch on because it could be very relevant in the next few rounds, depending on how they're out for RDC.
And of course, this is, oh no, Fish Noodle, again, first pick. We've seen it multiple times, and it will be from almost the same position on that rappel. It's just, yeah, not working out for them. And with that, I'm not even sure if she was in the middle of putting down a castle barricade or something like that, but yeah, some lines of sight will be left exposed, and that could be dangerous because, as we know, Radical Rebels do prefer this lobby take. It's been very successful.
You got to clear these positions out, though. I mean, Big Brain have a really good strategy in terms of how they're holding it, where they've set themselves up, what they're looking to achieve with the positions being played. With Chloe finding one on the Aussie Ash as well, taking down the flank watch is a pretty big pick to find. She's actually going to get aggressive and swing there as well, but unfortunately no kill onto the Hibana just yet. Is still going to stand strong. Spartan trying to open this wall up without clearing the mute jammer, which I do rate. The mute jammer in weird positions, but they can open up a small amount of the wall. They are trying to dump some utility onto that now. I do believe that actually just connected. Psycho down below, though. Could also do some big explosive damage with her utility as well, provided they can get some pings inside of the site. And I'd imagine that's probably what they're setting up for. We do see the yellow pings there on the map. So whether or not Psycho is taking action on these, I'm not too sure. Obviously, through the floor, we can't make out too much, but no, she's actually playing for this person down in bottom square, but Chloe's going to get away.
Wow, I really thought she was dead there, but just in the nick of time, she manages to actually get away with just about half HP. The rotation, though, is covered, and by coming back up here, I do expect that she will be caught, but she might be able to take one with her. Can't quite land the shots. And all of this, it means time. Time is being burnt out here, and Burner Bear finds another one. That's certainly going to help.
We seem to have some information. Burner Bear doesn't want to let main stairs go without a fight. Obviously, Diffuser now in her control as well, relaying that information to her team. And RDC in the 2 versus 4 need to make something pretty magical happen here if they want to walk away with this round. Obviously, the shield is still in play. They're walking up to these head holds. He's ready. He's going to get the down. Doesn't know that that has happened, though. So the kill not yet to be confirmed. I believe Mystique may have just spotted that, though. So there is some information from the main windows. She's not going to be providing much help to her teammate as Burner Bear mops up a third at the top of main stairs. Mystique is going to go for the rappel in here and try to face check with the LMG to try and find the remaining 3 players. But in doing so, I don't think too much is going to happen. Rappel's there for the final kill. BBE answer back on the top floor and make it happen in the end.
Good recoil control there from Rappel to finish off the round. Yeah, much better play compared to the previous round. Although they did lose that first pick, they were able to hold onto those power positions. Burner Bear, especially in that elevator, keeping her alive has certainly helped. And we saw that a lot more in the previous map as well. If she was actually alive at the end, she could do a lot of damage. And I think that's something that's a bit underutilized. Having said that, though, Radical Rebels still a very solid attack on that rappel. They got a lot of the utility open. They got a lot of, they certainly opened up with the first pick. But again, both these teams now seem to have a problem with attacking, and especially getting into the site at the end. It's just a matter of who stuffs up less once they roll onto the attack side.
There has been some really good adaptations from both teams. I mean, round 1 downstairs obviously was one, then round 2 upstairs, RDC won, but then we saw a bit of a change from Big Brain. We saw a lot more utility towards that top main position. We saw change in positions of players. We saw a different roam style, which ultimately sort of panned out really well for them in the end. Coming up the main stairs, they couldn't clear out the player inside of elevator. Burner Bear was there, and all she had to do was point and click. It was really that easy. So it's good to see adaptations from both sides. Hopefully RDC learned their lesson in round 1, though, and can walk away at least closer to making something happen on the top floor here. But again, speculations. We don't know.
We might be seeing a reverse take here going through the hatches in the elevator and also the lobby. That could be one way of doing it, or just skipping the second floor entirely. That was, of course, where the things came undone last time. Too much time spent up there and not enough on the site. And it seems they are opting, in fact, for both of these options, just completely ignoring the possibility of anyone being upset, because they're correct, there is no one there. And they're just going to go for the main push. Through the main lobby and the hatches.
Not really too much for them in terms of other map control, other than they've got main lobby here. Excuse me. Obviously, Chloe's going to be relaying this as well. She's on the pulse scanner, pretty much writing a small novel in terms of the amount of communications being relayed back to her teammates. The information is there pretty much on everybody. With Yoshi taking down the garage flank as well, Meeps to fall on the sledge. Not a great pick to lose on the side of the attack. And yeah, that's going to set them back here pretty largely as well. That's 2 grenades gone and your flank player removed from the board, and this same amount of utility is there to deny. I mean, yeah, this is going to be tough for RDC to pull off.
Yeah, to also like the mid-round adaptation we saw from Big Brain. We saw the movement of the ADS and the shield over to the vault to watch that lobby drop. And that's going to make things a lot more difficult. And I don't know if that information has been relayed back to Radical Rebels. In fact, both of these sides are very, very difficult to push. Again, so much denial. It's really going to come down to a really explosive entry and just playing those picks if they want any chance of taking this round.
It's going to be the big question. Can RDC pull it back from the ashes? They lost the first pick, so it's going to be difficult in terms of the man count alone. Getting the hatch only just with 40 seconds left above the main site, but here we go. This is what we didn't see last time. Mystique coming down the main stairs provide a small amount of rotation coverage. Obviously, the Goyo is going to be drawn out. Tachanka adding to the amount of fire at the bottom of the main stairs, trying to stack this damage, but rotate might have been called here. Fish Noodle goes down to Yoshi's smoke inside of red, but Psycho's actually deep in the site. They don't have too much info on this. She's actually going to be able to make it into red. Will spot Repel, not going to get the headshot. The bomb now going down as well. They just need to hold the red hallway here while the bomb goes down, and Spartan's going to be able to get the plant off as well. Repel's going to go to work with the LMG, but Spud, it's now the post-plant. Psycho to find Yoshi. 2-3 with both going down. Repel now the only player left inside of the main site. Has to find all 3 with only 30 seconds left. It's not looking too great.
Things were looking good at the start, but as we said, explosive entry, a bit of team kill, and some well-placed shots. All of a sudden, this round is over. Is she going for...
They can't
A friend in need is a friend indeed. Look at that, going for the res. Make sure they can't pad out the KD to... Oh no, she dies straight away.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Psycho was coming. Psycho was coming. Speaking of padding KDs, though, Repel's going to find 1. What a round from Psycho, though, jumping into red and finding 3 on the entry. I know I called that they were kills. I mean, look, she downed them. They were pretty much gone, let's be honest. So there's that. But yeah, really good from RDC. They learned their lesson. They switched things up. They got a little bit more aggro on the execute to try and take the pressure off the planter, and it worked out really well. We did see Big Brain try and deny that, ultimately, with the smoke grenade team kill. Which is unfortunate. However, obviously, RDC capitalised on that, rush into the site, clean it up, and thanks for coming.
Attackers need to locate and...
But yeah, they won it out on time as well. So there's that. Just taking into account, Spot. They're going to go downstairs again, though. Big Brain don't want to give it up too quickly. They want to give it another go, make sure that they can't change something up. They haven't made any roster swaps in terms of operators. Both of these teams actually haven't made any roster swaps. So... I mean, I guess everyone's just comfortable with where everything is right now, Spud, it seems. I mean, you can't really blame them at the end of the day. If they're comfortable, just play what is working, and they're doing just that. I mean, it's very back and forth at the moment. But for one of these teams to really excel in the second half, it's going to have to be a 4-2 one way. So the question is who wants it more at this point?
Attackers must locate...
Yeah, again, you mentioned... Can't fault them for playing with what they're comfortable with. And honestly, both of these lineups have worked very well. Both of them have yielded results. So, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. We'll see how this plays out, though, because this is, of course, the 3rd time that Big Brain take this onto basement. Having previously just lost that, I worry if they give too much away by letting Radical Rebels keep drilling the same site over and over. But of course, it was a close one. They do have a very good setup here, so no surprises there.
Again, they've taken a very slow approach to this entry. They're being cautious, I think, is a better way of describing it. They are clearing quite literally everything. They're making sure it's all clear, they can get in, and they're not going to lose that pick early on. They do have one player in the middle floor playing for some sort of aggression, the roamer over towards Archives. Obviously, that drone coming forward now with Mystique and her duo entry of Spartan coming through the main lobby to open up that hatch is going to be pushing that player back, but I do actually believe that the rotate has come out and they've made all their way back down blue. Yeah, indeed they have. So all players now accounted for on the bomb site downstairs. Again, RDC haven't picked up on this as quickly as maybe we would have hoped, but they are doing better than in the previous round. The hatches are being opened up now, and they're actually drawing out that denial utility early on. One smoke canister has already been drawn out, Spud. This is what they needed to be doing in the previous rounds.
Yeah, looking better there for Radical Rebels. Time, of course, will be another factor, though. A little over a minute, but still not the end of the world. Still plenty of time to work that control. I say that, though, I worry that they once again will default to a very flat approach, one-sided, dropping through this office. Mystique, however, is eyeing that hatch, and I don't think she's actually being spotted out by the pulse scanner, and this could be the playmaker here. If she can get through that vault and clear out the Tachanka, then things will definitely change.
An elevator hatch drop here might actually be the play for RDC. They look like they want to switch things up to main lobby, though, and indeed it is. We've got Mystique coming down the main stairs. Barna of Spartan looked like she was going to go for the elevator drop there just before we switched to the overhead view. So whether or not that is the play is a big question right now. But there's only 20 seconds left, so whatever's happening needs to happen quick. Here we go, the drop from Spartan. Coming down main stairs, Mystique on the cross as well. They are going to be able to spot the head of the first to find that kill as well. Burner Bear to go down, Mystique to cover the cross, but looking the wrong way to her teammate. It's going to get, doesn't matter, Psycho's good for 2. Not the third, though. Chloe to trade back. 9 seconds left on the plant. Yoshi does a good amount of damage to Aussie Ash, but the bomb now going down. Chloe to find Aussie Ash, though, to finish off that kill. There's only a 2 versus 3. This is definitely doable for the defense here. BBE need to make something happen. The Nitro from Chloe will find Meeps, but Spartan's there to take down Yoshi. The court as well. Will they be able to find this final player? This is doable for Chloe. Low HP Meeps and Spartan. This is a very achievable round for the Poles. Finding the headshot as well. A quad for Chloe. Can she make it the ace clutch? Spartan needs to make this happen. 1 versus 1. Z-pings are available here for the defense. Can she pull it off? There's not much long left. 10 seconds on the clock. Can Chloe get the ace clutch? She's going to walk on round. Will spot the Hibana. Needs the pre-fire, but no. Spartan's going to shut it down. An RDC. An absolute nail-biter.
Close, but no cigar. Radical Rebels once again managed to close out attack, managing a plant, and then finally the kill at the end. It was very, very close, though. Chloe almost managed, again, to clutch it out. But yeah, you know, we mentioned it. She did actually see that last player, got the pre-fire, but unfortunately Spartan played it very, very well. Perfect positioning, didn't peek when she didn't need to. Okay, we've seen players make that mistake multiple times, and this time she held her ground, waited until the perfect moment to go for that kill. Very well played from Radical Rebels, and it secures them finally a round advantage here.
They take the lead, so it's not a definitive dub for them yet. Obviously, Big Brain have been sort of going tooth and nail in terms of the round count. They've been keeping it 50-50 across the board so far, and they definitely did it a lot more on theme as well. 8-6 is obviously a pretty 50-50 until OT, unfortunately. In saying this, though, here we are, round number 6. RDC could take the half 4-2, or it could end on a 3-3. Either way, RDC, being the defensive-sided team that they are, they like the defense, they are really good on the roams, they have great strategy. I'd imagine going onto the defense, if they can find the 4-2 here, things are going to be relatively clean-cut and polished for them. But if we see BBE claw this one back to a 3-3, they also have some really good players in terms of how they like to push. Aggression, obviously Chloe. We've seen it from Repel even at times, Burner Bear even. So those are things that we do have to sort of take into consideration as well. If they can get the 4-2, RDC should be looking really good for this. But if BBE can hold on for one more round, I reckon it's going to be, again, we could be on for another OT game, Spud, for our third map.
Yeah, it's looking like that. Both these teams pretty evenly matched. And for this last round on defense, this is where we get a little bit of a wild card, because this is a site we haven't seen yet, and it will be the Teller Archive site. And a bit of a different setup as well. We do have Chloe returning on that pulse to get all the intel, but this time, Fish Noodle for the denial of information, playing the Vigil. I do like to see that, because previously it was a bit too free with the basement, no upstairs presence, but this time with that, so much better.
Ooh. So close for Chloe there. Psycho within an inch. Had she been any closer to that Nitro, it would have been the end of the fuse. With the fuse in play, this is obviously going to force Chloe back and into the waiting arms of Mystique, there to collect downstairs in the main lobby. Repel also taking considerable amounts of damage from the verticality. Psycho's going to be able to continue using those cluster charges, but Burnabear is actually the one to find a kill to trade back. Meeps will take down the flanker, though, of Fish Noodle. So kills going back and forth with RDC coming out on top in terms of the trades. Big Brain, not too much left on the site for them. Obviously, 2 roamers, no Nitro for Repel. Not a great deal of denial, and with Radical Rebels so much control, it's not looking great, Spud.
Yeah, they've got the vertical presence, and now they can start pushing onto site. And still, 50 seconds remaining. That's more than enough. Yoshihava will go for this rotate, and Repel as well might actually go for this flank up, but she does make it back to site from a different angle, and Burnabear finds another Psycho now looking for the kill. Will find Repel, and now it's a 3v2. Looking good for Radical Rebels.
Big Brain 2 alive on the site. Burnabear and Yoshi, the 2 players that could get the job done, need to get the job done here if they want this round count to be as even as they'd hope. They're going to use the secondary hard breach to make their way into Tellers through the wall. They do have site presence in the back of Archive, so Yoshi on the long angle is going to have to try and deny the plant here, but the bomb going down on the angle that can't quite be reached means that it is going to be a successful plant, and now a post for the attack, meaning that Yoshi and Burnabear are going to have to get aggressive. Psycho waiting to collect on the fuse, LNG and Spartan there as well. RDC, they're going to end the half on a 4-2 and put themselves in the driving seat going onto the defense.
Really well executed there from Radical Rebels, putting so much pressure from the vertical, catching the flanks as well. Fish Noodle there, unfortunately, wasn't able to get the kill. Really, yeah, the advantage was in her favor. But ultimately, with all the flanks shut down, Radical Rebels able to find that perfect spot to get the plant down, which meant, well, Big Brain were playing a losing game once that diffuser was active. It means they go 4-2 now on the defense. As we mentioned, a little bit attacker-sided, so perhaps Big Brain will find a bit more success here, but at the end of the day, it's not too bad, and Big Brain have come back from worse. They did go 5-1 to, 5-5 and all, so it's not the end of the world, but certainly they have their work cut out.
It's going to be a bit of a push, but I mean, look, RDC, given the team that they are, and given how much they do like the defense, I'd imagine we will see them fight tooth and nail to finish it here. It's been a long night so far. Obviously not for me, fresh to the desk, but it has been a long night for them. They've played a best-of-3 series. For any team, can be taxing. So very respectable effort so far out of both teams coming into this evening, regardless of who walks away with third place here. But it is obviously a little bit more at stake in terms of what there is to walk away with. This isn't a normal league season game. This isn't, the playoffs qualification bracket to get that chance at the first, second, third. This is one of the final games, and RDC are that little bit closer on the scoreline to finishing things out. Now on the defense, things are looking good, but Burnabear not going into garage like I thought she was, so disregard what I was about to say.
Meeps, though, actually very aggressive position in Tellers, and I don't know whether Fish Noodle has seen that, whether the drone found it. Oh, yeah, there it is. She will get discovered, so no freebies today, but we've criticized multiple times that Big Brain can sometimes go in with that droning. So at least they found that. Otherwise, that would have been disastrous.
I still think Meeks probably could have won that fight as well, like through the wall or even on the pre-fire. But unfortunately, no pre-fire. No cool wallbang clip to put in the montage, and we're going to be going forward here into the remainder of the round. Half of the round has actually been spent here by Big Brain, and while, yes, they don't usually drone, or at least they haven't droned in the past, and we've seen that become a bit of a thing where, it costs them. This time it really hasn't. They've done really well. They've droned it out pretty much perfectly and forced those roamers back into their secondary positions, albeit they do not know that Meeps is on the top floor from what it seems. So that's going to come back to bite them later on. Whether or not they find her is even a completely different question, given her position is so lucrative. But I mean, yeah, they're just sort of waiting around, doing their things. But again, this is what we saw from RDC. It took them a really long time to set up, and we're seeing a repeat.
Yeah, both these teams now struggle on the attack to find that timely manner. And still, Meeps still upstairs, still just waiting for a moment. Yoshi, however, will actually just walk in through dirt, and they will get that blue control and start opening up that wall. 45 seconds left, and Meeps finally finds Fish Noodle. It's been a long wait, but she is rewarded. That's player advantage, but, oh, okay. Plant going down. What? Where's the denial? Oh, there it is.
I was going to say, it's coming out now. The fire grenades are going to have to do something. The Nitro's there, but Burner Bear to take down Meep, so the trade is there, but the time... It might be too late, provided that they still have plenty of Shimikas to still go. 9, in fact. Repel's actually going to be planting, trying to hide it with the sound cube, but the Shimika's going to miss. No, Repel is going to jump off the bomb plant, not get it down, but the Echo Drone as well. Now cleared out. Chloe's going to have to entry into the site. I do believe the second Echo Drone has come into play, but the kills off screen are going to come out. Burner Bear to find another one. It's going to have to be the aggressive play now from the defense. Chloe to find another. It will be Psycho to regress to main to take down Burner in a 2, making a 1 versus 3. It's going to have to be the Tachanka all alone. Aussie Ash on the back of bomb site, swing round to the hallway. Yoshi is there, and BBE on their first round of attack are going to walk away with an absolute stinker.
Maybe this really is an attack-sided map. It was looking so good for Radical Rebels too. They had the players still roaming upstairs. They had the Nile, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. Meeps, of course, taken down by Burner Bear on that flank watch, so well done there from Burner Bear. It could have been very, very dangerous otherwise. And then, despite having both the Echo and the Kaid, it just... Sorry, not the Kaid, the Tachanka just wasn't... Yeah, just couldn't quite land it. And Repel persevered through all of it, managed to stick it right at the end, and that's, of course, when the tides turned and Radical Rebels found themselves on the back foot.
Oh, as we've said, Spud, it's been so 50-50 this map anyway. But there is a lot going on. I mean, we've seen repeating issues for both stacks on this map so far. One of those being both of which aren't too comfortable attacking the bottom floor in terms of time required to do so. They're getting to the site, 20 seconds, 30 seconds left in the round, which is very doable. It's a lot of time in a game like Rainbow Six to work with, but provided there is so much in terms of denial on the board. I mean, we highlighted it for BBE. We're going to highlight it again here because it's a very similar lineup minus the smoke. I mean, we've got, a Nitro, 2 Echo Drones, and Aussie Ash on the tower. It is a lot of denial to deal with, and you do need to start spending that time dealing with it because for both teams, it has now shown to be an issue in terms of how long it's taken them to clear the map and then ultimately execute, trying to dodge all of that utility. Albeit, BBE did really good dealing with it in the first round.
Yeah, both teams seem to have improved on this a little bit. As we said multiple times, it's been an issue for both teams, and they've sort of picked up their paces as this game has gone on. So certainly, they're learning on the fly, and that's good to see. What they haven't learnt, though, is that Mystique is still upstairs. I don't know if they're aware of this presence at all. Both times, Radical Rebels just chose to ignore, the top floor. And that worked out fine, because there was no one on the top floor. But this time there is, and if Big Brain don't find that out, once again, someone could fall victim to it.
The fact that Mystique and Meeps now have been allowed to do this is kind of crazy. Obviously, Burner Bear on the 0 is going to be the one responsible for holding those flanks down. Chloe has almost taken 50 damage of Ultra Claw. That is the biggest bang for your buck Electro Claw I think we've ever seen in the Women's League. But the hatch is going to get opened up. The bomb's actually going down. Repel is planting, and it looks like she's going to try and stick it here. But obviously with the Echo Drone in play, things are going to be difficult. The Fire Grenade as well. She was playing for the stick, but it's not going to happen. But this is exactly what they needed. Mystique to be taken down by Burner Bear as well. Off screen, 30 seconds has passed, and already a kill, and the utility is starting to be burned. This is awesome from BBE.
Looking much better now on this attack. Can't quite land those Shumika grenades, but with Echo Drones off the... Oh. Well, Echo Drones out, but Repel falls as well. Fish Noodle now next to the line up for this. In the Death Train of Fire. She does some damage, but not quite enough to get the kill.
This has been really good juggling here of the utility and the site. They've managed to deny for such an extended period of time. The bomb obviously now going down. They have to get this denial off with the Echo Drone or something along the lines. Usually to go down. They're going to have to aggress onto the Planter, but no, from the hatch, the Tachanka, what was happening? The fire wasn't there. Fish Noodle would have been killed, and the bomb now ultimately going down. Burnabear to take down the flanker going for upstairs control, but Aussie Ash and Meeps, the last two players, the Spetsnaz brothers, have to retake onto the bomb site. Chloe and Fish Noodle. Fish is, well, seen better days in terms of HP, but Chloe's going to be the first problem upstairs on the hatch. Meeps to fall, and Aussie Ash now all alone on the Tachanka. 15 seconds left. Not a big deal she can do in the position. Okay, will take down Chloe, but Fish doesn't need to peek. She's got time. They win the round anyway here, and BBE are going to walk away with another one, 4-4.
Well played there from Big Brain Esports. Textbook, well, almost textbook attack of the basement on Bank. They've shown us they do, in fact, know how to play it, and that was very well executed. They burnt out that utility over and over at the start. They had good flank watch. I really like how it played out, and I really like especially the shift that they put Burnabear on as flank watch rather than an early solo entry has worked out so much better.
It really has. They've sort of adapted a little bit more aggression, and it's worked out for them. I mean, they got down there with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to start drawing that utility out, and that ultimately, I would argue, sort of won them that round. They put pressure in the right places, obviously, sending that player down the main stairs as well. Burnabear, she did get that pick, was traded out, but that did exactly what they needed to, and pulled away the Tachanka from the denial, allowing Fish to get that bomb down. They played for the Echo Drone contact, just shot it when they needed to, chucked a nade in even, whatever happened, it was cleared, got the bomb down, played the post-plant positions, and that was pretty much textbook there from BBE. And they made that adaptation on the fly. They changed up the push. They took upstairs a lot quicker, had the time to burn that utility out, and look where it's put them. They've equalized on a 4-2 deficit on the attacking side on a map that, yes, is arguably very attacker-sided. So RDC should be scared now unless they can start putting some serious rounds on the board.
Yeah, and what better way to do it than switching up the site? Really make things, keep Big Brain on their toes, because there is no point in going back to that same site. When Big Brain had won it so convincingly, especially that last round. Early damage there for Meeps. She won't be able to find the spawn peak. She's done it multiple times, but not this time. The LMG goes burr. But again, a top 4 take could burn out time. Just a matter of how much here.
They're going to have to play for vertical here. I mean, the pulse is in play for Aussie Ash as well, so the Nitro is going to be pretty scary. It is already being used, though, interestingly enough. I'm not sure where. It doesn't actually seem like we can see any Nitro holes in the main floor upstairs, but it doesn't matter. Psycho is going to collect with her Nitro, and that's going to be Burnabear off the board. The Jackal, a big kill to find as well early on. I say early on, half the round has already elapsed. But yeah, Jackal off the board, really big. That looks like the second Nitro there. Thank you very much, Nuttery. This is going to allow, obviously, for some verticality now, though, from Big Brain. No Nitros, so nothing too scary left. And they're sort of just going to make their way above and clear out these players inside of Telus Archives.
And this has historically been where Big Brain has really excelled playing that vertical play. And with the information they've gained from the drone as well, look, you can see it right there. Aussie Ash goes down, and that's the information gone as well. Minutes still to work with. That's plenty of time to go, but Meeps could catch a player out here if they don't locate her.
Yeah, Meeps is going to be a big issue unless they can clear this position out, but they've got a lot in terms of utility left to play with for the attack. Obviously, a bunch of hard breach. 2 shields from Chloe as well. Smokes, the whole shebang, everything available to them. 2 nades as well from Fish Noodle, which they are actually calling over now, I believe, to get this wall open into kitchen to try and get this bomb down, and then ultimately play for the post plant. They have been looking really good in the post plant so far. the wall to be cleared out. That's going to allow the ace charge to open things up. Meeps to take down Yoshi, though. That's not a great start. The Maestro is going to be there to actually impact trick and find the kill onto Chloe. The bomb going down, and very quickly RDC turned things around for themselves in this round. Proning on the floor on the contact. Fish Noodle to go down. A really easy cleanup for Spartan. And Repel in a 1 versus 4. She's going to play for the stats here, because there's only 4 seconds left. Is she going to get any, though, to add to the scorecard? It doesn't appear to be so. RDC, they're going to clean things up. They're going to walk away with this round.
Again, time coming back to bite Big Brain Esports. They got the top floor control. They did a really thorough job of clearing out those players. They played the vertical to clear out the pulse from below. There just wasn't enough time to execute. Still too much utility there to clean up. And of course, we saw that Maestro camera. It was pinging so much information. All the Maestro had to do was just lie prone and wait for the call to come in. And of course, with the 80 bullets, the LMG, not much the attackers could really do. So again, time is coming into play a lot here. And yeah, we've been at it for a long time as well. This is the third map, 5 and 4. Teams are going to be feeling that fatigue, and see, right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage too on Spartan, which isn't great. But even if they lose the round, they've got the buffer. So it's yeah, look, not good. It's not good. Underlying shouldn't have happened, unfortunately. But again, as you mentioned, fatigue, it all comes into play. Everything starts to be an issue at the end of the day when you've been playing for extended periods of time. Speaking of interesting issues, Chloe jumping onto the flips as opposed to a hard breacher / support character this round. Fish Noodle also bringing out the sledge. So a bit of a switch up. Yoshi also on the Dokkaebi, which is an interesting choice in my eyes, provided that they could actually use that really well. A line might have been a bit more spicy, but I think Dokkaebi is going to essentially do the same thing for them. They just want to play off the information, basically, is essentially what the pick is for. Opponent detected outside, not too sure who. I'd imagine it might have been a clone of Spartans, maybe? I guess it doesn't really matter. Spud, again, slow start to the round, first minute, just setting themselves up on repels, getting ready to do something.
Trying to get all this information, locate where some of these roamers are, and make sure they don't get hit from the flank. Util starting to come in now. I do believe that won't be a mute jammer to deny there, so it will be a shot which takes it out. Yeah, trying to get rid of that that shield will be really important. The frag grenade doesn't quite catch Psycho, who will fall back through the hatch. Now comes back up to wage another war.
Attackers have located a bomb.
No kills either, which is pretty big going into half the round on a top floor defense especially. But that's going to be in favor of RDC, obviously having those players alive, positional advantage, etc, etc, etc. It's going to make their lives relatively easier here on this defense. Obviously a lot of main control from those windows, and pressure is being applied right now by BBE. Mystique is going to be really close to that, and Yoshi can actually spot the head of the Jaeger, but it's not going to get the kill. Mystique is somehow going to be allowed to run away in the main lobby, but from the main tellers, Burnabear to clean up the player trying to peek out. All she needs to do is just sit on this drone, continuously spot these players. Hasn't spotted Mystique there hiding well. So Burnabear is maybe actually going to get called out here by the Jaeger. Indeed she will. There you go, the phone call impaired with that. What a great util.
That's rather unfortunate. Repel, oh, what a flick, takes out Meeps, and slowed as well, and she's got the wall open. Yeah, where's he? Huh. Cool, just walk in, I guess. I think that's one in Janitor as well.
Oh. Okay. Aussie? Unfortunate. Oh, okay. I think it was sort of written on the wall, Spud, when the impact was there at the start of the round on the Spartan. I think it was sort of maybe outlined in the fine print that this might have been what was going to happen. Mystique's not having a great time on site either, though, as we talk about the future and the fortune that was sown. And yeah, there we go. That's a Psycho. Great shot, but not who you need to be shooting.
See, this is what happens when you play with
it was a nice flick too. That's the thing. It was actually an insane flick, just bang. And you could see that was my teammate. Oh, you love to see it sometimes.
I think the fatigue is really starting to come in. I mean, you saw the early damage on the Spartan, the team kill, and also on the side of Big Brain, Yoshi just missing free shots on Mystique early on. So I think it's starting to wear them down, and it's a matter of who can get through this marathon slog. Because we still have I think we have a lot of rounds to play. It's 5-5, right?
There's still a possibility of 5 more, including this round. So, look, at the end of the day, anything is possible, Spud. I mean, we saw at map 2, we went to OT, it was an 8-6 for BBE. And I think, depending on what happens, obviously, with this round, we're most likely going to be seeing an OT again, unless BBE can sort of keep up that one sort of appearance they had on the downstairs, walk away with it really convincingly, and then propel it on forward from that into the next couple of rounds, which then will ultimately obviously bag them the game and 3rd place in Season 7 of the Women's League. But RDC, on this downstairs, have proven to be pretty dangerous. So it's anyone's game, really, at this point.
Yeah, it's not... I wouldn't really quite call it yet, but so far, Big Brain have been doing a pretty good job on this attack. And of the 3 attacking rounds that they have won, all of them were from plants. So getting the diffuser down, is quite a feat. Like, that's impressive. So yeah, well done to them, and yeah, could work out in their favor.
It's going to be time, I think, for both of these teams, defense and attack. Even if we do see the OT, I think time is going to be a big thing. Time management as well. Because both of these teams so far have been struggling a lot with time management. Saying this, though, the only thing struggling at the moment is Meeps, because she can no longer see. Head taken off by Chloe. 14-6, by the way, on the Maverick. Having an absolute heater of a game for her team. And that's, I mean, what a great way to start the round off. They do still have a player in serve to clear out. And they do still have some things to change. But we also see a significant swap in roster for RDC. They don't have Tachanka. No smoke. They are bringing the Echo again. And the Nitro's already been used, with Yoshi taking down Mystique as well. And the player on the top floor being taken out by Chloe. RDC, what's gone wrong? 5 players left for Big Brain, and they haven't made a single dent yet. And it's a 2 versus 5 on site.
Well, the only thing that might save them now is the fact that Psycho is still alive. We've seen her clutch it up. We've seen her take post-plant situations that she really should not win. But look, it's difficult. And with so much time and setup remaining, look, they've still got a minute. They've got the wall open. They've still got utility, I think, yeah, to clear out the grenades and the denial. It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be interesting here as well, though, because Psycho does still have the Echo drone in play, but it doesn't matter if she's not going to use it. Repel's going to be able to get the block down. Oh, the Ash, so close on the swing, but Repel's a frag. Burner Bear from main. Big Brain going to get a flawless round to regain the lead on attack and put themselves on match point here for map number 3. 1 round could possibly separate them between walking away with 3rd and going to OT. RDC are going to have to do something pretty insane here if they want to walk away with this derby. It is going to be staff room open area, but is that going to be enough to cement them a spot in having a chance at winning this match?
This is incredibly close. For those of you who haven't been watching, of course, first map 7-5 to Radical Rebels, second map 8-6 to Big Brain Esports. So only 2 rounds separate these teams each time, and now it's only 1 round. We've seen these teams come back from being a round down. It really isn't that much. So Big Brain need to make sure they don't rest on their laurels. They haven't quite won yet, and it's not over until it truly is over. At the same time, though, that last round was very, very convincing. Chloe with some ripper shots and also some great flank watch from Burner Bear. Excellent, excellent play. And Nuttery, our observer, just reminded us Big Brain came back from 1-5 last match. So they're really good at making these reprisals, even when they look like they're out.
That and Bank is an attacker side of map traditionally, right? Excuse me. So it's not really a surprise that they're sort of having the sudden burst of rounds that they are sort of accumulating. But in saying that as well, the work that they've been putting in these rounds that they've been walking away with has been provided that they ended that half 4-2 and then going on to the attack, which usually going on to the attack after a split is sort of the, oh no, the issue for some teams. Big Brain don't really seem to be too bothered by it. They've jumped straight on it. They've come back. They've regained the lead and now put themselves in a match point position. RDC are definitely going to be scared. It's going to take a little bit of a toll on the mental here as well. Maybe a little bit of a play on the psyche, if you will, of the defense. But in saying that, again, time, it's going to be another thing, a recurring sort of premise for us here. A minute being spent, and they are now just starting to clear above with the vertical and start playing for some of these angles to push these players back to the side.
One thing they do have working for them is a lack of that pulse from last time, which means C4s aren't going to be as accurate. You're going to have a better time playing that vertical, and that vertical play is traditionally where they've really excelled. Burnabear also finally doing a lot of work on this flank watch. It is just so effective. That position, every time, nets her kills. And it's working out so well for Big Brain. They're already a player up. That's Mystique off the board now. And it's looking good for Big Brain now.
Minute and 20 left is still a lot of time. Obviously, finding the pick's going to make things better for them, but the Nitro, unfortunately, not connecting. Fish Noodles somehow walking away with her life. That Nitro was actually so close. I don't know how it didn't do any damage. The Desk must have tanked it. Unfortunately there for Aussie Ash, but trying to actually contest the verticality here to find some, damage or even a pick onto Fish Noodle, but having the maneuverability inside of the archives is going to keep her alive for the moment, and ultimately the rotate Burnabear, who's been playing this position religiously pretty much every round, is going to find that kill on the rotate. Meeps will take down Yoshi though, so some form of a consolidating trade, but the way this is shaping out, it's not looking too good. BBE starting to go for the plant. Fish Noodle will go down. In saying that, Spartan's actually kind of going insane with the Alda letting the bullet hose rip. They find themselves in a really good position to retake onto the site here, provided that Burnabear and Repel cannot clutch this out. Burnabear will find one on the Meeps. Now, a 2 versus 2 in terms of the count. You can see, going back and forth. Repel to take down Aussie Ash, though. Can the Alda make it happen? Spartan needs to go sicko mode here and find 2 more for a 4K to clutch this round out if she wants to keep RDC's dreams alive of making third, but Repel to shut things down. BBE, after a grueling best of 3, are going to close out map 3, 7-5, and what a way to secure yourself third.
Well, they may have started off slow, but they finally got there in the end. They have done it. They've taken third place in our Season 7 of Women's League, 7-5. It was a 2-1 slogfest, and look at those scorelines. So many players in double digits. That's half the lobby on double digits. No wonder it took so long, but definitely well played from both teams. Ultimately, though, Big Brain Esports with the dub.
Commendable. Very commendable. An insane season from them, and they've had an absolutely amazing go tonight here, especially tonight here. I mean, losing map 1, going into map 2 and going, you know what, let's keep going. They kept it going, pushed it on to map 3 in OT, and ultimately walked away with a map 3 dub as well. 7-5, unfortunately for RDC, means they're not going to secure that third place, but still 4th is a very commendable effort. Top 4 is always something to be glad walking away with at the end of the day. But I mean, wow, what a showing from both of these teams throughout the whole season, and what a showing for this evening as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's no small feat that they've made it this far, and certainly they should be proud of the results that they've achieved tonight. It was very, very close. It was very, very well played from Radical Rebels. Honestly, at the start of the first map and going into that round split at the second map, I thought Radical Rebels could walk away with this, but ultimately it's also a testament to how well, as you mentioned, Big Brain Esports have been playing. The mental, going from such a huge deficit and being able to turn the tide and the momentum. Really well played from both teams, and it certainly has been really great to watch.
It has been insane. Now, we are going to jump in for interviews this evening. Obviously, the playoffs brackets, we always do interviews. So we will have a small break until we set those up, and we'll be right back after the break with the interviews. And don't go anywhere. We will be momentarily momentarily.
You cut.
Yeah.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. Everybody talk. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
And gentlemen, we are back from our short break. Interview 1 has been sorted out, and we are going to be speaking to RDC first. Can everyone please help me welcome Mystique and Aussie Ash to the desk? First of all, obviously, GG's, well played, congratulations. Rather unfortunate, but sometimes it happens. What a game. We're here now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was really insane.
Yeah, obviously it was a really close match, but before you actually went into this, how did you guys feel, going up against Big Brain Esports? Did you guys do any preparation? What was it like?
Yep. So we had quite a few scrims this week to kind of get as many maps as we weren't sure where they would go in terms of their map picks. So we tried to do a wide range this week, and all our scrims against them in the past have been really close. So we knew it'd be a super close game. So we basically, just to prepare, we prepared for that close game, but just decided to try and adapt as much as we could. But in the end, they took it out. GG to them.
Yeah, I mean, it was really well done. And obviously, at the end of this season, how did you guys feel? How do you guys feel it went for you? Obviously, starting off, you had a little bit of a rocky road in terms of the first couple of weeks of play. How do you think you've developed over the season coming into, obviously, the top 4? I mean, it is an insane effort from you guys behind the scenes. How do you feel that you went, though, in terms of the team, how things went, et cetera, et cetera?
We are 100% we love one another. It has been absolutely amazing to be playing with these guys. Each week, each map, each round, each player has grown and shown so much growth within the season, within each game. So it's been really amazing to be a part of the team and everyone's level of excelling throughout the whole season. And we were hoping for top 4, 100%, but to actually be in the top 4 playing BB, they were absolutely amazing. It's a loss for words, really, on how we played throughout the season.
Yeah, and then continuing from that, how are you guys feeling for season 8? Is there anything sort of changing behind the scenes that you want to talk about, or are you guys happy and confident going forward? Are we even going to see RDC? Is there anything that you could tell us secretly behind the scenes, or just in general thoughts for season 8?
So unfortunately, a few of the girls are moving on to bigger and better things. So you will not see the same roster next season, but Radical Rebels will be playing as usual. There will always be a team there.
Well, shame to hear, but hopefully everything works out in the end. And finally, as always, is there anyone you want to shout out, say thank you to, say hi to very quickly before we close things in?
Oh, mate, I've got my pen and paper right here. Let's go.
List. Let's go.
Look, I'm prepared, but if I forget anyone, don't at me. Right? So, first of all, guys, each and every one of the girls, cause and sub, it's been an honor and thrill to be playing with these guys. It's honestly a loss for words. So 100% they give their all each and every day that we've been scrimming, comp, throughout the whole season. It's just been amazing. So thank you to all those guys. Radical Esports as a whole, amazing family. It is, our future is a little bit up in the air, but it won't be the last you see of any of us. Our coaches, Wet and Demigod, they have both been absolutely phenomenal throughout the seasons, and it has shown throughout each of our matches. We made it top 4, baby. Let's go. Casters, use hype up every round. Use the way that you talk as well is, oh my God, I can't keep up. 100%. But use hype up the community themselves as well. We'd like to thank, they are absolutely amazing. Chat, positive, negative, take it on the chin. You know, they are there. They come each week to see how each of the teams go and support their favourites and their teams. The admin team, everyone behind the scenes for XP, thank you so much for everything that you guys do, because obviously we wouldn't be doing what we do without you guys. And yeah, all our scrum partners that we've had throughout the season. I don't know if I've missed anyone. Mystique?
I don't think so. You covered, you covered a lot. Yeah, no, I don't think so. No, that's pretty much everyone.
There you go, closing up the
obviously-
book, yeah.
Yeah, well, it has been great having you guys here as well. So thank you for playing as well and for talking to us as well. It's been really great having you as part of XP, and we definitely look forward to seeing you guys next season as well in whatever shape or form that may be. So thank you. And yeah, I guess we will go back to another short break as we look to prepare for our second interview with Big Brain.
Yeah. Spud, it's been interesting, and I mean, as you said, well, as they said, you know, they've had an insane season, they've enjoyed themselves, and they definitely did have a list there to thank. But you always love to see it behind the scenes. It's been amazing. So great for them. Unfortunately, there wasn't third. They managed to get fourth at the end of the day. As they already said, they're ecstatic about it. Top four is nothing to scoff at as well when you go up against 8 other teams, all of which are insane. Other than that, we're going to cut to a small break. And when we are back, we will talk to the victors, BBE. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in a short second.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. Everybody talk. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Break's over. We're back, Spud, for interview number 2. Obviously, we're going to be going to have a word with the victors of this evening, finding themselves a lovely place in third finish, the BBE squad. Big Brain Esports, we have Yoshi and Fish Noodle coming in for the interview. Here they are now. First of all, congratulations, GGs, and well, really well done for the evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Obviously, kicking things off, coming into this season, season number 7, how did you guys feel? And then over the season, how do you think you guys have done, ending in thoughts overall, etc., etc.? Go.
We tried really hard. Up till this last week, we practiced almost 3 times a week. Yeah. Yeah, this last week we actually didn't do any practice.
Yeah, just a couple teammates COVID and no scrims, so we're pretty surprised with no training this past week. So
Small flex.
Wow.
yeah, it's really good.
I mean, because Radical Rebels just told us they did so much practice this last week, so that's certainly different. Wow, all right. Okay, we know who's on top here. Yeah, one thing I definitely want to ask you about is, so end of map 1, that was Radical Rebels win, of course, and then you guys reverse sweep, win 2 maps in a row. What was the atmosphere like at the end of map 1, and what did you guys change to, suddenly do so well?
Honestly, there was a lot of stress, obviously, in map 2 because we were down by quite a bit. And I think at one point, someone from RDC disconnected, and that gave us the time just to reset, refresh, talk everything out, and it was just really very good. It worked out really well for us.
Things got really heated in map 2. Oh, goodness me, we're all just throwing flames at each other, very frustrating. But we all gave each other a hug.
Yeah.
Virtual hug.
Virtual hugs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's right.
It gets tense. It does in best of 3s. I mean, it happens to best of teams. But in saying this, how are you guys feeling going going forward to season number 8? Are we expecting anything here? Change up from Big Brain? Are we going to see Big Brain? Is there anything that you can tell us at the moment, or all secrets up until next season? What's the go for season 8 for you guys?
Well, next season, yes, Big Brain will be in season 8, and there will be a little bit of a change, but a lot of exciting stuff to come.
There you go. And finally, as the same as last, shout outs, mentions, say hello to anyone you want to. The mic is yours. Go for it.
First off, thank you to all the girls on the team, and to all the girls who do sit out week to week, mainly our subs, for hosting the watch parties. Shout out to our coach, Webra, for being there every time we've needed him. Big thank you to Big Brain Media, who is our org, for supporting us. And of course, the admin of XPWL for having this competition. Yeah.
Thanks to everyone in chat, in particular the Warriors girls, and they're very supportive. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes at XP Esports. You guys do an amazing job. I love being in Women's League. I've made so many friends. Just thanks so much.
100%.
Well, there you go. Congratulations on third, and very well done. It's been an amazing season, and hopefully we will see you guys back in whatever capacity next season. I'm sure it will be amazing. So thank you very much. Congratulations once again, and have a good rest of your night. It's time to go and have a break. Go and
Thank
celebrate.
you. Goodbye.
The place is great.
Goodbye.
Have a good one. See you later. There you go, Spud. BBE, third place, secured, locked in, and done. Now it leaves us with only one more matchup, the grand final, Spud.
Yeah, that's right. It will be Warriors, the old guard, versus Vertex, the new kids on the block. I say that with quotation marks because they are very experienced here. And Vertex, actually, I believe they were back from season 1, so they have made their return here. It will be a duel to be seen. Warriors, they look good as always, but last week, a bit of a misstep there. And will Vertex actually use that to their advantage? And will they finally be able to dethrone the Queens of Women's League? Guess we'll have to find out.
It's going to be a huge matchup tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Couple of different casters, though. Myself and Blue Panda bringing you the best of tomorrow's action. But Warriors versus Vertex. I mean, Spud's already said it. Can Vertex finally dethrone the Warriors, or are they going to go 2 seasons completely undefeated? I mean, Spud, our bracket has been pretty insane. I mean, starting off with Warriors RDC, then taking on the Vertex Big Brain game. I mean, where we've ended up has been pretty insane. But with RDC finishing in 4th, Big Brain finishing in 3rd, I mean, look, anything can go on tomorrow. Obviously, with the Warriors being the Warriors, I would assume that they're going to be looking to keep that undefeated streak going. But we're going to have to find out, because tomorrow is where we're going to kick all of that off. Same time, again, same place, here, where we all love the Women's League. Spud.
Yep, and of course, before we go, we do want to thank our sponsors, of course, Zowie, Ubisoft, Computer Alliance, and ZQ Racing. None of this would be possible without you guys, so thank you for making it all happen. Anything else you want to say before we dip, Proto?
We love the sponsors, we really do. We always love the sponsors, and we do have to thank them on a multitude. Zowie, Ubisoft, Computer Alliance, ZQ Racing, again, legends. But yeah, look, at the end of the night, Spud, it's been pretty insane. I know I only caught the tail end of it, and what a tail end it was. I mean, an insane map to close it out, insane teams going at it. And the fact that it got to map 3 is just awesome to see. I mean, we love those best of 3 nail-biter games, reverse sweeps, all of that fun stuff. So, and even to get to talk to players at the end, it really just sort of topped it off for everyone. I'm sure everyone in chat has enjoyed it, and hopefully they've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed watching it, Spud. But other than that, I don't think there's really too much to say other than be here tomorrow night, same time, to watch the grand final. Warriors to take on Vertex. It's going to be an absolute heater, but that is all from us, I think, in the desk. I don't think there's anything else that we have left to do here. So everyone, go and enjoy your evenings. Go and have some fun. Celebrate if you are one of the players from the teams that played this evening. Other than that, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Enjoy the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one. See you later.
Bye.